Welcome to HOJO Radio. And now a radio crime drama that ran on CBS from February 27th, 1949 to August 1st, 1954. Produced and directed by Elliot Lewis, the opening theme of I'll Take Manhattan introduced Detective Danny Clover, played by Larry Thor, a hardened New York cop who worked homicide from Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. We present to you Broadway's My Beat.
The FBI in Peace and War, ordinarily heard at this time throughout the year, is taking its usual summer vacation and will return to CBS 5 weeks from tonight on September 1st.
Broadway's My Beat. From Times Square to Columbus Circle, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world.
Broadway's My Beat, with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover.
Broadway. It's an enchanted island or a prison, a crazy, happy dance, or a funeral march in blues time. It's a sorcerer's palace with golden mirrors and jeweled fountains, or it's a wailing wall corroded with pain. Call it anything you want. It's My Beat. One of the ways to get on My Beat is to infiltrate through the grim lines of people trying to buy tickets to South Pacific. Those people are going to mutiny someday. It was about 9 in the morning and a good thing happened to me. The good thing was a kid named Paul Thomas. A sweet kid, a gentle kid. A kid who'd wrapped himself in iron to stall off the pain so many people handed to him for free.
Mr. Clover, could I talk to you for a minute?
Sure, Paul, sure. Any place, any time.
How about in the lobby here?
Okay, lobby it is. I'm sure glad to see you, Paul. It's been a long time.
Not so long, Mr. Clover. It's only 5-6 months since you got me that job. Maybe 7 months since you caught me breaking into a store.
Who remembers what happened 7 months ago? How's the job, Paul? How's it working out?
Mr. Arcane's been treating me fine. He's even had me bonded so I could deliver all that jewelry and stuff.
I bet your folks are proud.
Yeah, they're real proud, Mr. Clover.
I've been meaning to get up to Harlem to visit them. Your mother's a fine woman, Paul. Give her my best.
I'll do that, Mr. Clover. She keeps asking about you.
Paul, it's a good thing to see you the way you are.
I'm in trouble, Mr. Clover. I think I'm in big trouble.
Oh? You want to tell me about it here? We could go someplace and get a quiet cup of coffee.
I better tell you about it fast, Mr. Clover. A couple of days ago they came...
Danny Clover, how's Broadway's Glamour Boy? How's the finest of the finest, huh?
Hi, Kirk.
Am I interrupting something, Danny? The boy won't mind being interrupted, will you, boy?
Maybe I mind, Kirk.
Oh, no offense, Danny. Come on, ask me how I am. Ask me how I've been doing.
How are you? How you been doing?
Oh, great. Very, very great, Danny. Yes, sir. Don't I rate an introduction to the boy, Danny?
Paul, this is Jerry Kirk, a private investigator. Paul Thomas, Jerry Kirk.
Hi, Mr. Kirk.
Danny, you don't keep up. A smart detective like you should keep up. I'm not a private eye anymore.
No? Well, so long, Kirk. See you around.
No, I'm not a private eye anymore. I'm in the plush, Danny. Plush office, plush stipend, furnished by Acme Insurance Company. I investigate insurance losses for them. Oh, it's a lot easier than breaking down doors to hall apartments.
But not so much fun, huh, Kirk?
More, Danny, more. It even gives me the price of a couple of tickets to South Pacific here. But how about you, Danny? You still hitting the triple features in the grind houses, Danny?
Goodbye, Kirk.
Yeah, it's been swell seeing you, Danny.
I'm sorry about him, Paul. Now, tell me what's on your mind.
I can, Mr. Clover. I got to get to work. I'm late.
Paul, come back here. That's how the day began, with the kid starting to tell me of big trouble and then running away. It was about 5 when Paul's big trouble started to catch up with me. A patrolman leaned out of a squad car and handed me a slip of paper. J. Aracarian, the paper said. It said the Paramount Building, and at the bottom it said, urgent. I'd been there before. J. Aracarian, lapidary and dealer in precious gems, was on the 14th floor. You went through a door and past the beam of an electric eye and waded through a carpet to a desk and an olive-skinned girl with tight black hair. You gave your name and you got nodded past Another beam and some carved oriental wall hangings. To a young man. Morning coat cut to hide the lines of his shoulder holster. And sneer cut to fit the scar that ran from his eye to the corner of his mouth. Then a chaperoned hike through another doorway. And there he was, J. Arakarian, impeccable in ascot, striped pants, and a Legion of Honor ribbon in his satin lapel. He had another thing, a guest.
I asked Mr. Jerry Kirk to be with us, Lieutenant Clover, because his interests lie in the same direction as ours.
Hiya, Kirk. What's all this about?
Mr. Arakarian will tell you, Danny.
Sit down, Lieutenant.
What do you want to see me about, Mr. Arakarian?
About the boy you asked me to hire. About Paul Thomas.
You know Paul Thomas, don't you, Danny?
What about Paul Thomas?
Mr. Arakarian is a polite man, Danny. He's trying to tell you the kid absconded with an awful lot of jewelry.
Please. This matter is very dolorous to me.
$100,000 worth, Danny.
How about letting Mr. Arakarian tell it his way, huh, Kirk?
I was just phrasing it neatly. $100,000, Danny.
Right now, you just listen, Kirk. What did Paul Thomas do, Mr. Arakarian?
He failed to deliver a consignment. He failed to let me know the reason why. He has been gone since this morning. Disappeared.
Like a puff of smoke, huh, Mr. Arakarian? That's what you said?
They assign a bright eye like you to this, Kirk?
Like me, Danny.
Mr. Jerry Kirk is from the insurance company. In a matter like this, one thinks of insurance.
In a case like this, one also thinks of how maybe Paul got slugged. One also thinks he could have been robbed, Mr. Arakarian. Paul Thomas turns up in an alley, Kirk, slugged. A bet?
Yeah, sure. I know human nature, Danny. He's gone a long way with those rocks. Absconded. He's stolen.
In a matter like this, the amount is not a pittance, Lieutenant. $100,000 worth of first water gems, jewel cases, settings.
Got a list of what's missing?
Right here. You see? It makes not an inconsiderable...
Yeah, it's not inconsiderable.
It is very dolorous, Lieutenant. You'll get them back?
Dolorous means it can make you cry. But Arakarian's dolorous was different from mine. His was $100,000 he'd lost. Mine was a boy named Paul Thomas that maybe I'd lost. But it was still only a maybe. I had two things to do. Turn the list of missing jewels into headquarters, which I did, then call it Paul's home in Harlem. Harlem is a guilt and a scar and a wound. And the wound is a tenement lighted by kerosene lamps. A tenement with barred windows through which you can watch the moonlight darting out on the backs of hungry rats. And Harlem is a place of quiet laughter that stops when it sees you walking up the stairs to the one room in which Paul's family of 5 live.
Yes? Oh, it's Mr. Clover.
Hi, Mrs. Thomas.
I hardly expected to. Please forgive the way I look.
Oh, you look fine, Mrs. Thomas, fine. May I come in?
Why, of course, of course. The children are outside playing.
That's just as well, Mrs. Thomas. I want to talk to you.
Please sit down, Mr. Clover.
Soup?
Is it about Paul?
Why did you see him last, Mrs. Thomas?
This morning. He stopped by on his way to work. Is there anything...
He doesn't live here anymore?
No, Mr. Clover. Paul's a man now, and he needs a place of his own.
Where is it, Mrs. Thomas?
Is my boy in trouble, Mr. Clover?
Well, we don't know. I don't think so, but I have to be sure. Where's his place, Mrs. Thomas?
It's a rooming house on 137th Street, 26 East. It's clean. You can actually see the sun. Paul couldn't do anything wrong. Not anymore, Mr. Clover. Paul's good. He's good.
He hasn't been by here tonight.
No, but that doesn't mean anything. Lots of times he doesn't come by at night, but he'll be here in the morning. He's always here for breakfast in the morning.
Well, I think I'll run over to that address you gave me, Mrs. Thomas. I'm sorry I can't stay and visit with you.
You'll let me know about my boy, Mr. Clover. Whatever way it is, you let me know.
It'll be all right, Mrs. Thomas. It has to be all right. Outside, it was 1 block north and 2 to my left of the subway station at 125th and Lenox. In those 3 blocks, you could feel the breeze from the East River fighting a losing battle with the heat. But it wasn't the heat that stopped me. It was Squad Car 15, Patrolman Florio at the controls. Not bad, Florio. 3-point landing.
Hi, Lieutenant. Come on, get in.
Thanks. You headed uptown?
Well, that depends, Lieutenant. Wherever you say.
Uptown?
You better call headquarters first. I've been cruising looking for you. Headquarters said you were in Harlem.
Yeah, call him, Florio.
Sure. Patrol car 15 calling headquarters. Come in. Patrol car 15 calling headquarters.
Headquarters receiving patrol car 15. Go ahead, 15.
I take it, Danny.
Yeah. Danny Clover speaking.
Danny, Tartaglia speaking. About that Arcadian robbery. Guy named Jerry Kirk called you.
Yeah?
Said he wanted you there when he took Paul Thomas.
Oh, where's all this taking place?
137th Street, a condemned tenement, 3 houses from the northeast corner on Lenox. 10 o'clock, the guy said.
That's right now, Tartaglia. Thanks. Let's go, Florio. You heard the man.
Right.
Florio,
Yeah, Lieutenant?
you're only giving me a lift down the block. Turn off that siren, huh?
Hello, Danny. Glad you showed.
Headquarters said you had Paul. You got him, Kirk?
He's in that tenement, Danny.
But he materialized out of that puff of smoke? How do you know he's in there?
Look, Danny, a guy steals $100,000 worth of jewelry. It's hot. He can't get rid of it. So he makes a deal with the insurance company. The deal Paul made was for $15,000.
He got in touch with you?
Yeah, sure. He said meet him here. So I got in touch with you. I'm double-crossing him, Danny. I called in the cops. You wouldn't want it any other way.
Yeah, let's go in. And Kirk, keep your gun in your pocket.
Danny, you know I seldom carry a gun, and tonight's one occasion when I don't.
Come on.
Hey, it's pretty dark. Lucky I brought a flash. Paul Thomas!
Let me handle it, Kirk. Paul, it's Danny Clover. Paul! Maybe he isn't here, Kirk.
He's here. That sound came from down in the basement.
Hey, Kirk, somebody's shooting downstairs and not at us.
Yes, and somebody's taking a powder, too.
Let's get him!
Don't you think it's time you got out your gun, Danny?
Yeah, it's all changed now. Hey, shine your light over there.
Where?
Back of the staircase.
Yeah. Hey, Danny. A body. Danny, look, he's got a gun.
Paul.
He's dead, Danny. Your boy's dead.
Why was he killed?
He was a bad boy, Danny. A bad boy with bad company, and the company just took a powder. How do you like your boy now, Danny?
You are listening to Broadway's My Beat with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover. Casey, crime photographer, finds an innocent-eyed young woman riding a murder-go-round tonight. As he joins her, his girlfriend, reporter Ann Williams, and Ethelbert, the magnificent bartender, caution him to go slow. For a merry ride with murder, join Casey and his pals tonight. And also be around for Second Class Passenger, another thrilling study in Escape. Crime Photographer and Escape are Thursday night features of most of these same CBS stations. Now, back to Broadway's My Beat.
One thing about Broadway, you can become a name overnight. All you have to do is have 3 current wives or ride 4 winners in a row. Or you can do it the way Paul Thomas did. Get caught up in a $100,000 jewel theft. And keep your mouth shut about it by being found dead in a Harlem tenement. Not that Paul Thomas would make much of a splash, but he would make a fast 30 seconds conversation piece over cheesecake and coffee. A cop uses up the night begging, pleading, grubbing for a break in a murder case. Then he goes home and begs for sleep. And in the morning he goes back to his office at headquarters and starts all over again. And that's where it broke. Come in. Come in.
Danny.
Danny, open your eyes. I got a surprise for you.
You open them. I'm tired.
I got something on the Paul Thomas case.
What?
Yeah, see? You opened your eyes all by yourself. It's not hard, is it, Danny?
I could close yours just as easy. What do you got?
Well, one of the Arikarian jewels showed up at a pawn shop.
When?
10:30 last night.
10:30. That was after Paul's murder. How come you wait till now to give it to me?
Easy, Danny. Take it easy.
All right, but how come?
Larry of Larry's Pawn Shops Limited just phoned it in. Says he didn't get our list till 10 this morning.
Larry, sir. Get me a squad car, Tartaglia. I'll pick it up out front.
Okay. Danny.
Yeah?
I know what this means to you. Sorry I kidded.
That's okay, Sergeant. It's okay. But get that squad car, huh?
Danny, boy. Danny, this is quite an honor.
Hi, Larry.
I could have saved you the trip if you just called me.
Needed the air. Okay, Larry, what do you got?
Danny, do you mind stepping in the back room? I'm trying to close a deal. Sometimes it embarrasses my clientele to see me consorting with a detective.
Ain't it a shame? Give it to me, Larry, and quick.
Oh, Danny, this isn't like you.
You want me to show you what I can really be like?
Okay, Danny. Okay, I'll get it for you. Think it over, mister. I'll be right with you. Here it is, Danny. Here, you see? This diamond ring matches up exactly with the one on the Arcarian list you boys sent me. If I say so myself, it's a beauty.
Yeah, but who pawned it?
It's on the ticket. A girl named Ellen West lives at this address on 115th Street. At least that's the name of the address she gave me.
You know where to send it. Send the ring.
It hurts me to part with it. Say, isn't it polite the way I cooperate with you boys, Danny? You'll remember it, won't you?
Sure. By the way, what did you give the girl for the ring?
It's worth $2,000. I gave her $600.
Can't hear you, Larry. How much?
$600.
Still can't hear.
It was worth $2,000. I gave her $600. Oh, Danny, I could kill you. Hey, mister, you didn't hear what I said. I was just kidding. Pay no attention. I didn't mean it. I'm ready to offer you a little more.
The girl whose name might be Ellen West lived in a street that might have been anywhere. Could have been a market street in the slums of Madrid or Rome or Athens or New Orleans. It could have been anywhere. But right now it was under the bridge of the New York, New Haven, and Hartford Railroad. Right now it was a street where Paul's murderer might be waiting in a dark room behind a locked door, waiting for a knock that had to come.
Yes? Who is it?
The police. Open up.
Please. Why you come here? I haven't done anything.
Are you Ellen West?
That's right. That's my name. How you know my name? I don't know you.
I'm Danny Clover, Ellen. Broadway Special Detail. I'd like to ask you some questions.
Mr. Danny Clover.
Huh?
Paul told me a lot about you. Please come in, Mr. Clover.
Thanks. You knew Paul Thomas?
I knew him. I knew him better than anybody. We were going to be married.
How old are you? 16, Ellen?
18, going on 19. That's not too young to get married, Mr. Clover. I mean, it wouldn't have been.
Ellen, you pawned a ring yesterday. Where'd you get it? Did Paul give it to you?
Where would Paul get a ring like that, Mr. Clover?
Where'd you get it, Ellen?
Came in the mail.
Oh, you have the package it came in?
I threw it away, Mr. Clover. I threw it away because I didn't want to know where to send it back.
Maybe you should have given it to the police.
Maybe I should have done what I did. I got $600 for that ring, Mr. Clover. With $600, two people like Paul and me could get married.
Did you tell Paul about the ring?
I didn't see Paul yesterday, Mr. Clover. I didn't see him to tell him about the ring or anything. I've got so much to tell him.
Paul's mother said he had a room of his own. Did you ever see it?
I saw it. I met his roommate, Joe Kendall.
His roommate?
Well, not exactly. You see, Mr. Clover, where Paul lived, that room of his own, that was just a place where he could sleep for 8 hours. Joe Kendall had it for the other 8 hours. They do that a lot up here.
Yeah, I know. That's all, Ellen. Just one thing. You won't go away.
Where would I go, Mr. Clover? Mr. Clover,
Yes, Ellen.
here's the $600. I got no use for it now.
The hotbed address of Paul's roommate, Joe Kendall, didn't pan out, but a suddenly forgetful landlord suddenly regained his memory when he put on a pair of wire-rimmed glasses and examined my police badge. His cooperation from that instant was a thing of joy. Joe Kendall was working right now, mister. Joe Kendall worked in the change booth in the subway station at 59th Street.
Want some change, mister?
No, Jay. Information.
What kind of information?
Your name, Joe Kendall?
That all depends on what connection the name's being used.
In connection with the police.
Show me.
Try this.
Yeah? Yeah, that badge says you're the police. Says my name's Joe Kendall. What can I do for you, Lieutenant?
It's about Paul Thomas, Joe.
Read about him in the papers this morning. I'm sorry about Paul.
How sorry?
Lieutenant? Wait a minute. Here you are, lady. 2 dimes and a nickel. Lieutenant, it's this way.
Maybe I asked you a bad question, Joe.
Not at all. I'm sorry about Paul, Lieutenant. As sorry as I am for any man who died the way Paul did.
What about Paul? What did he tell you about himself?
Well, things like I'm tired, Joe. That's what he used to say to me. When he woke me up because it was his turn to sleep, he'd tell me things like that.
That's all?
Other things, too, Lieutenant, but that was a general idea.
Something else, Joe. That ring on your finger. Where'd you get it?
Are you going to believe me? Okay, Lieutenant. I'll tell you anyhow. I got it in the mail yesterday.
You should have let the police know.
I should have, but I didn't. Maybe I was going to. Maybe I was going to pawn it. I don't know.
You'd better let me have it.
Sure. Here. Take it. Lieutenant, I'm in trouble now, huh?
I guess right now you come under a couple of laws in the penal code, Joe, but which one escapes me? Just don't run away.
I'll be here, Lieutenant. Here or in Harlem, one place or the other.
It was a decision I had to make about the girl Ellen West and about Joe Kendall, and it was a decision I made. They turned up with a part of the missing jewelry and a strange story how they'd got it, and I didn't book them. I didn't put a tail on them. If they told the truth, it gelled an idea that was shaping itself. If they'd lied, I'd know it before the day was over. Back at headquarters, I made out my report that way and turned it in. Then there was nothing to do but trade stares with Sergeant Tartaglia and wait for the report from the technical boys.
Well, I don't know, Danny. I don't know. I'm not sure you did the right thing. Those 2 might have been holding back.
Technical lab reports, Lieutenant. Ballistics, chemical, prints, all of them.
Thanks.
Okay, Lieutenant.
Ballistics, nothing. No, I figured there'd be nothing there. Hey. So long, Tartaglia.
Hey, Danny, where you going?
Take a look at those reports. They'll make your red face even redder. Those photoelectric eyes wink even at you, huh, Eric Carrion?
They make no distinction, Lieutenant, between friend or enemy. They're ever alert, ever suspicious.
Yeah. You kept me waiting a long time, Eric Carrion.
A jeweler has many things to take care of, Lieutenant. Sometimes you must keep even the police waiting. But you're not lonely. Did not Monsieur Artaud amuse you?
Oh, so that's his name. No, your flunky Artaud didn't amuse me. He's so silent, so sinister, is that the word?
It's a good word for Artaud.
Tell me, Artaud, that shoulder holster you wear under your morning coat, how do you avoid a bulge? You must have a good tailor. I wish I had a tailor like that.
I will send you the name of Artaud's tailor, Lieutenant. That all you wanted?
That's just part of it. I'd like to have a look at your vaults.
You wish to buy some jewelry wholesale?
No, I'd just like to find some lost jewelry. Stolen, it says on this list. Stolen from a Mr. Eric Carrion. That's why I'd like to have a look at your vaults.
You're insane, but I will humor you. But first, a trifle. You have a warrant, Lieutenant?
Now, what do you know about that? I clean forgot to get myself a warrant. But as you say, it's a trifle. Now, how about the vaults?
I do not think so, Lieutenant. In your country, I have learned to do everything comme il faut.
How?
Comme il faut. Translation, as it should be.
Thanks. I like to learn new words.
A warrant would be as it should be.
Then I'll just have to get the vault open myself.
Otto!
Tell your flunky to take his hands off me.
Otto is a very difficult man to tell things to. Not only does he not talk often he does not listen.
Tell him to take his hands off me.
Perhaps you could persuade him yourself, Lieutenant.
Yeah, perhaps I could. Oh, Attu, I went and spoiled your creases.
You policeman,
Well, Kirk, the eminent investigator, today on occasion for carrying a gun. You didn't have to shoot Arikarian.
I did, Danny. To save you from getting knocked off, I had to do just that.
Save me? What are you talking about?
Well, look at him. Look at Arikarian's hand. He was just getting ready to pull a Luger.
Yeah. Okay, Kirk, this wraps it up. Let me have your gun.
What for?
Ballistics will want it to check it against the slugs in the body.
But you saw me shoot him, Danny.
The gun, Kirk.
Are you off your rocker, Danny?
The gun.
I've got a permit for this gun.
The gun!
Oh, ow.
Yeah. Thanks for the gun.
Oh, sure. Sure, Danny, now that I know you were sincere about wanting it. Well, like you said, this wraps it up. You figured it a little ahead of me, that's all.
Tell me how.
Oh, easy. Arikarian never parts with the jewels and reports them stolen for insurance money.
Yeah, true. Tell me, Kirk, how do you figure Paul Thomas figures?
Also simple. Arikarian tells the kid to make it look like the kid ran away. Well, maybe Arikarian wanted to do it another way, and the kid balked.
Yeah, that's right, Kirk. Paul came to me yesterday and started to tell me he was in trouble. It adds up, huh?
It adds up neat.
You know what else? 2 of the gems showed up with 2 of Paul's friends. Arikarian mailed them to throw off suspicion.
Clever, real clever.
Yeah, but here's the twist. The gun Paul was holding in that tenement cellar had no fingerprints on it.
Huh?
He was dead before he went in that tenement, Kirk. Dead men leave no prints. Paul Thomas was dead before I saw you, Kirk.
Hey, that is a twist.
That scene in the condemned tenement, you and Arikarian staged it. That's why I want your gun, to check it against the slugs they took from Paul's body.
You're crazy, Danny.
Listen, how else I'm crazy. You killed Paul. You propositioned him and he'd have none of it, so you killed him. And you killed Arikarian so he wouldn't implicate you.
You stink, copper. You stink, but you won't take me.
I've been waiting for you to do that, Kirk. Waiting.
Ow!
That's for Paul. For Paul. For Paul. What stopped me was something gentle. A tap on the shoulder, that was all. But it stopped me. Man from headquarters looked down at me, and his tap was gentle. He said that was enough. I quit, but I didn't believe him. He said Kirk was something the law had to take care of. Then I had to believe him, because I'm a cop. In the mid-afternoon heat, Broadway is a desert littered with mirages of what might be men or women. You touch some and they vanish. You touch others and they snarl and slink away. It's real or it's phantom. It's Broadway, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Broadway, my beat.
Broadway's My Beat, with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes, with script by Morton Fine and David Friedkin. Musical direction is by Lud Gluskin. Be sure to join us next week, same time, same station, for Broadway's My Beat. Mr. Keene, the famed tracer of lost persons, goes society tonight. Knowing Mr. Keene, you'll realize at once that it's not so much the question of which fort, but which suspect. Mr. Keene's latest adventure, the Society Murder Case, will follow in just a few moments on most of these same CBS network stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
And now, before the overture to the second act of the Gibson family, let's step backstage and look in on Sally Gibson and Hilda, her maid, who is helping Sally change for the next scene.
Quick, Hilda, hold this dress. I've never been so excited in all my life.
It's really wonderful, isn't it, Miss Sally?
Too wonderful. That scene in the garden.
It made me think of Henry, Miss Sally. Miss Sally, if I had your complexion, do you suppose Henry would...
What, Hilda?
Help me, what's wrong with my face, Miss Sally? Those red blotches just won't go away.
Soap, probably. What kind are you using? Some beauty soap, I suppose.
Yes, Miss Sally. That one that promises radiant beauty, glamorous youth, irresistible loveliness. Oh, Miss Sally, I had hoped Henry would...
Yes, so did I once. And then I learned the truth. Hilda, you can't feed the pores of your skin with beauty oils or mysterious ingredients.
No.
And many highly perfumed, prettily colored soaps contain fatty acids and free alkali that really irritate and harm your skin.
But, Miss Sally...
My doctor recommended Ivory. He says all any soap can do is cleanse, and that to protect the fine texture and pores, a soap should cleanse gently. And that to do that, a soap must be pure. He said Ivory would help to keep my skin smooth and fine.
And, Miss Sally, do you think Henry would...
Oh, quick, my gloves, Hilda. Is the bell for the second act?
No, Hilda will never get a Grecian nose by using a beauty soap. But we do hope she gets Henry. And now for the overture to our second act. All right, Don.
HOJO Radio. We're your old-time radio headquarters. Stay tuned.
The FBI and Peace and War, ordinarily heard at this time throughout the year, is taking its usual summer vacation and will return to CBS 4 weeks from tonight on September 1st.
Broadway's My Beat. From Times Square to Columbus Circle. The gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world.
Broadway's My Beat, with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover.
Broadway. It's a promise you make to yourself in some dismal part of your life, or it's a name you say like a curse. It's a place of golden women and mirrors of chrome, or it's a beggar who will tear off a piece of his soul for a cup of coffee. It's anything you want, any time you want it. And it's My Beat. By 9 o'clock, police headquarters had settled down to its nighttime routine. So far, business was slow. I was sitting in my office straightening out the detail sheets that always accumulated on my desk.
Lieutenant Clover, good evening, sir.
Well, Dr. McClure, Dr. Robbie McClure. It's a pleasure to see you. Sit down. Sit down.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant.
Hey, what's the matter? What's the matter, Doctor? You look pale.
Well, I could give you all the clinical reasons for the way I look. Now, now, Lieutenant.
Let me get you something, Doctor. I'll be right...
No, wait, Lieutenant. Last month, there was a shooting. It's not that I want to confess to. It's the thing about... you should know about... Last month, a murder that the police never solved. Daddy, I don't want that to happen to me. I don't want that...
Dr. McClure. Dr. McClure. Sergeant Tartaglia.
Yeah, Danny.
Come here.
Yeah. Well, what's the trouble, Danny?
Close the door.
Well, what's all... Well, Danny, what's the matter with Doc McClure?
He's dead.
What?
Flip his coat aside. You'll see why.
Oh, Danny.
From the size of the wound, I'd say it was from a .22 fired from up close. Tartaglia.
Yeah?
Call downstairs and tell him about Dr. McClure. Then get a detail to find out everything you can about the doctor. Friends, relatives, bank account, everything.
Right.
And in the morning, I want the files on every murder that happened about 30 days ago. Unsolved murders. On my desk in the morning.
Right.
Good. I'll see you.
Now, where are you going, Danny?
I'm going to wind back McClure's life. I'm going to find out why he had to die. The great buildings of the city lean against the night in crazy, tilted angles, like lighted toys deserted by a sleepy giant. And there's the feeling that unless you walk carefully, you'll upset their insane balance. But Dr. Robbie McClure's office building was different. It sat square and solid on its haunches, and when you pressed the night buzzer, it growled at you.
Well, shoo, my mare, if it ain't Danny Clover the Torbert. Canter in, me boy, canter in.
Same old Pippin.
No, not the same, Danny. There are bald spots in me fetlock, and I ain't so quick to break from the starting gate like I used to. From a dashing, mounted policeman to a flabby night watchman. Ah, that's a bit of pasture, Danny, me boy, a bit of pasture.
Maybe you're wrong, Pippin. Maybe it's sweet pasture and you don't know it. Pippin, you know Dr. Robbie McClure, don't you?
Sure I do. A great surgeon. But what a waste, what a waste.
How do you mean?
Sure he was a genius. Should have been a veterinarian. What else would I mean, Danny?
What else, of course. You know what time he left his office tonight?
I do. I have it right here in my book. Now, let me take a look. Oh, yeah. Here it is. 8:40 in the p.m.
Was he alone?
No. He was in the company of the sleekest, prettiest, raciest-looking filly. It's been my pleasure since I cavorted in the mounted police.
Did you have her signature?
Oh, no. She was the doctor's patient, or guest, or best bet for tomorrow. Night watchmen are discreet, Danny. Some ladies, they don't ask to sign out.
Well, ask him from now on, Pippin.
Huh?
I mean it. Have you got any idea where they went?
No, Danny, but they took a cab from that hack stand out there in front.
Did you see whose cab they took?
Yes, I did. I opened the door for them. They took Irv Newman's cab. If you want Irv, you'll probably find him at his home. I know those hackish skittles, you know.
Well, thanks, Pivot. If you get a lump of sugar in the mail, it's from me.
What do you want? Hey, it's Danny.
Hi, Irv.
Hey, Rose, it's Danny. Danny Clover of New York's finest.
So he's going to help me wash the dishes already?
Pay no attention to Rose, Danny. She's moody tonight. Come on in.
Thanks, Irv.
Now, sit down, Danny. Sit down.
Irv,
I offer you something, a glass of tea, a cold beer. I got it. How about one of Rose's blintzes, huh? Hey, Rose.
Never mind, Irv. Don't bother Rose.
What's the bother? Even if she's moody, she can't wrestle you up a blintz.
Oh, I'm here on business, Irv. Some other time.
Oh, business? Hey, Rose.
Huh?
Come here.
Huh?
Shut off Caruso.
Huh?
Make quiet Caruso.
What's you, Caruso?
Caruso. Now we'll talk, Danny. What kind of business brings you down here to Orchard Street, the land of the knish and the bagel?
Pippet told me you drove Dr. McClure somewhere tonight, Irv. Where'd you drive him?
Park Avenue. Yeah, here's the address, Danny. I was just making out my records.
Thanks. Was he alone?
At first, no. Later, yes.
Translation?
First, he is with a doll. Lean over, Danny. Rose shouldn't hear. A Zoftic-type doll. You know what I mean? Then he is without the doll. Around 50th, she opens the door of the hack and slips out into the traffic. McClure tells me to keep going. I think they had an argument.
What about him?
Danny, I'm the type to eavesdrop, especially when they shut that glass panel.
The address Irv Newman gave me was a study in millionaire respectability, Scrub, Park Avenue, Brownstone. The butler took my hat and sighed and told me it was all right to go down the corridor into the living room if I tiptoed. I did. Then all of a sudden it hit me. The light from a couple hundred bulbs set in a crystal chandelier. And when I finally squinted through it, I couldn't quite believe it. It wasn't the size of the room. That was only about 100 yards long. It was the walls, from ceiling to floor, and all the way. The walls were decked with murals. Mother Goose murals. Paintings of every fairy tale and nursery rhyme character in the book. And on the floor, smack dab between Marjorie Dawn, her seesaw, and Jack and his beanstalk, sat a man. He was wearing three things: a goatee, a full dress, and a beanie, three propeller type.
Well, hello there.
And hello to you.
My butler said your name was Danny Clover. But my butler lies. What is your name, sir?
Danny Clover.
You see what I mean? Grab a toy out of the toy box, sir, and sit down.
Mr. Fletcher.
Here. Take my latest product. Child psychologists claim it's remarkable for improving the coordination and tactile responses of a 4-year-old.
Really? Has it helped you?
Immeasurably. We place the ball in the cup, so.
Uh-huh.
Then we squeeze this lever, so.
Yep.
Then we catch the ball. Oops, we missed.
Oh, I guess we overestimated ourselves. Now, Mr. Fletcher...
Oh, well, call me Fletch. Don't stand on ceremony just because I'm the president.
Oh, does Margaret know?
Huh? Oh, no. I mean the president of the Fletcher Toy Company. I make toys for children, sir. I bring gay bits of sunshine into their otherwise drab little lives. And, as you see, I test my products before I market them. Incidentally, sir, what is your business?
Police.
Police? Police?
Stop your screaming. You'll wake up Snow White over there.
Sir, what right have you to be in my house?
Well, technically none, Mr. Fletcher, but there's a little matter of...
A matter of invasion of privacy. What do you want?
Was Dr. McClure here this evening? Dr. Robin McClure.
In a word, yes.
Why was he here?
I'm his patient. Is that a good medicinal reason?
Simply sterile. Are you a sick man, Mr. Fletcher? You don't look sick.
Dr. McClure says I'm a hypochondriac, but he gives me pills. I take them. They make me feel better. Ergo, I must have been sick before I took the pills.
One more thing, Mr. Fletcher. Who was with Dr. McClure?
I beg your pardon?
Or maybe she stayed in the cab that brought him here. Who was she, Mr. Fletcher?
Oh, that one. Yes. I peeked out the window and saw her waiting in the cab. Oh, beautiful, isn't she? Oh, striking. One of the most striking women I ever saw.
I blew at the top propeller in Fletcher's beanie, and then the butler came in and ushered me out in the downdraft. Lying must have been one of the little games they played in that $1 million house. Fletch said the butler lied. Then Fletcher lied about a girl he hadn't seen, a girl who was a question mark or an answer in the murder of Dr. Robbie McClure. If I was going to wind back McClure's life, I needed some sleep. All that got wound up were the sheets in my bed. And in the morning, I started it all over again in the good doctor's office.
You're early. The doctor hasn't come in yet. You'll have to wait.
Everything about her was anonymous. The white shoes, the white stockings, the starched white uniform, the starched white face, and the mouth, scarlet and thin, that she wore like a ribbon of merit.
You're a new patient? Fill out this card, please.
Not a patient, police. Lieutenant Danny Clover, Broadway Special Detail.
Oh. Did Dr. McClure ask you to come here?
You could say it that way. I'm here to investigate his death.
What? You mean something's happened to him?
He died in my office. He was murdered.
I don't believe it. I don't believe it.
Oh, I'm sorry you had to be told like that, but we don't always have time to be gentle. You were his nurse, Miss...
Elliot. June Elliot. I have an agglutination test to make on some Rh-negative blood, Lieutenant. May I do that while you investigate?
Yeah, go right ahead. Where do I find the doctor's patient records?
In that metal file box.
You've been with the doctor long, Miss Elliott?
3 years. Pardon me, Lieutenant. I need that slide.
It's the usual question. Did he have any enemies?
You knew him. What do you think, Lieutenant?
Doesn't matter what I think.
He was a fine man. Generous and kind. I'll need that microscope.
Oh, sorry. This is strange.
In the patient's file? What's strange, Lieutenant?
This card has a name and a date. All the other cards are filled with case histories. All this has is a name and a date. Dorothy Rivers, June 29th. Isn't that strange, Miss Elliott?
The files were the doctor's responsibility. He had his own way of keeping.
Then you don't know anything about a patient named Dorothy Rivers or this date?
Nothing, Lieutenant.
May I take this with me?
You're the police. You do anything you like. I'll have to turn the lights out now, Lieutenant, for the test.
Go ahead, Miss Elliott. Go ahead. This will do for now. And thank you, Miss Elliott.
Goodbye, Lieutenant. Miss Rivers, Miss Dorothy Rivers, Dr. McClure's office. We advise a rest, a long rest in a quiet place.
You are listening to Broadway's My Beat with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover. If murder should suddenly explode in your face, you'd know how Casey, crime photographer, feels tonight in the drama titled Sellout. That's exactly what happens to Casey.
A routine newspaper case suddenly erupts into a savage murder mystery which requires the sharpest thinking and fastest action of the crime photographer to solve. Crime Photographer is yours for the listening every Thursday evening, as is the other thriller, Escape. Tonight, Escape brings you Leiningen versus the Ant, a top story of harrowing adventure on a top program. Remember Escape and Crime Photographer tonight over most of these same CBS stations. Now, back to Broadway's My Beat.
There's this thing about Broadway. It can tickle you under the chin and make clucking noises, or it can slap you hard across the mouth and laugh. Either way, you get hurt. Right now, the receiving end of the slap was the police department for various and sundry unsolved murders. And the laugh, the big laugh, the cold laugh was that a man named Dr. Robbie McClure had come to my office to die, and I didn't know who'd killed him. I sat at my desk at headquarters tearing the tabloids into a noose of paper dolls when Sergeant Tartaglia opened the door and with a fine Italian flourish lay a thick paper-bound file in front of me.
For you, my lieutenant.
Your memoir, Sergeant? What is it?
Not only what you asked for. A file on one of our more recent unsolved murders.
Get it out of here. Get it out of my sight.
Huh? Hey, Danny, you sick or something?
Oh, all right. All right, leave it.
I also have here in my pocket the dope you wanted on Dr. Robbie McClure. Here, read it.
Talk it to me, son. I'm sick of reading.
There are some interesting items, Danny, about the good doctor. Item. Friends, numerous and friendly, all with alibis. Item. Relatives, none. The doctor was a lonesome man.
Are your wife and kids, Tartaglia?
Oh, great, Danny, just great. Hey, you should see the latest, little Christina.
I bet she's a doll. Go on with the items.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Item. And this is the one I think will interest you, Danny. On June 30th, Dr. Robbie McClure made a deposit in the Corn Exchange Bank in Bronxville. 10,000 crisp, cool, clean dollars.
June 30th, huh? Now you can talk to me about the recent unsolved murder.
As follows. A man named Martin James was murdered in his Sutton Place penthouse apartment at a party, night of June 29th.
Yeah?
He was asked to step outside, and he was murdered. Martin had a gun. He fired one shot. The bullet from Martin James' gun was never found. We figured it took off across First Avenue.
Tartaglia, there's a doctor's patient card over on the table over there. Tell me what it says on it.
Sure, Danny, sure. Says Dorothy Rivers, June 29th.
See a name like that on the James guest list?
Wait a minute, Danny. Yeah, here it is, Dan. Dorothy Rivers, in an alphabetical list with a lot of other girls.
Is your address there?
All the girls have the same address.
What? Say that again.
They all have the same address, the Tony Seville Model Agency.
Tartaglia, here's a fin. Buy your doll Christina a doll or something.
Oh, thanks, Danny, thanks. But there's something I think you should know.
About Christina?
About Dorothy Rivers. The records say she never showed up at that party. She was never there at all.
Tony Seville paid rent for his model agency in the Empire State Building. For this, he received the privilege of maintaining a 10-room suite on the 40th floor and decorating it with orchids and genuine neutrils. The other decorations were too numerous to mention, delicate shadings of blonde and brunette. When they crossed their legs, the silk whispered. I started to whisper back, but a scented haze with magenta fingertips beckoned me into an inner office. She closed the door behind her, and all I was left with was a pork barrel in a double-breasted pinstripe named Tony Seville.
My secretary whispered you are a policeman. How have I trespassed? I parked my car incorrectly, perhaps. I forgot to curb my dog.
Let's stop rubbing noses, huh?
I beg your pardon?
Let's put it this way, simple and blunt. There's some questions I want you to answer for me.
You must have a dull profession, asking questions. Very well. Ask a question.
Mr. Seville, your agency supplied a half-dozen models to a party at the home of Martin James. Said party a little over a month ago, June 29th. Said home a penthouse on Sutton Place, right?
Possibly right. However, don't underline your details with a sneer. My agency furnishes models as decorative baubles to any social function.
One of your decorations on the evening I'm interested in was named Dorothy Rivers. How do I get in touch with her?
You're a detective? Detective.
What's her address, Seville?
May I suggest a dragnet detective? or any of the numerous machinations you police are oh so adept at.
Her address, Seville. Where do I find her?
You should be told. We only give the model's address to an approved client. I don't approve of you.
Look, kid, sometimes I can forget I'm a cop. I can forget right now.
I think you mean it.
Yeah, try being cozy for one more second.
I don't know where Dorothy Rivers is. I haven't seen her for a month.
You can do better than that.
The day after the party, she phoned. She said she was going on a vacation.
You're doing fine, Seville. Keep it up.
There's nothing more. I tried to get in touch with her several times since. She checked out of the hotel. She left no forwarding address.
You're telling the truth, aren't you, Seville?
The truth is this, as far as I know and care. Dorothy Rivers could be dead.
Beginning at the 40th floor, I picked petals off a tired daisy. At the 38th, Dorothy Rivers was dead. 37th, she wasn't dead. 36, dead. 35, not dead. I don't remember how it came out, because when I got off at the ground floor and walked into the yellow heat of 34th Street, a character stopped me by tapping me lightly on the leg with the front bumper of his cab. The character was the character named Irv Newman.
Don't look so scared, Danny. Brake psychotic could stop this cab on a thin latka.
Latka schmatka, so long as I got my health.
You're charming, Danny. Absolutely charming. Hey, told me at headquarters I'd find you around here. I got something for you.
One of Rose's blintzes?
Maybe better than that yet. You know that girl you was asking me about? The one I picked up with Dr. McClure, the professional man?
What about her?
I spotted her for you, Danny.
Where? Tell me where.
So let me tell you. Happens I got a friend, Danny, a truck driver. He's a peach of a fella. His name is Clem. Every morning gives me a push with the truck so I can start this lousy hack.
Where did you spot the girl there?
So I'm telling you. While Clem is pushing me with his truck and I'm gliding along in my hack like in a gondola, I see this girl coming out of building.
What building?
6 West 23rd Street. So I turn around, I wave to Clem. He should stop already. Danny! Danny, didn't let me finish!
Miss Rivers?
Who are you?
I want to talk to you, Miss Rivers.
By what right? I don't know you. Get away from here. Get away.
Let's go inside, Miss Rivers.
Who are you? What do you want?
I'm Danny Clover. I'm a police detective, Miss Rivers. Been through a lot to get to you. We get along a lot better if you just settle down.
Why do you want to see me?
I've read somewhere that grief can make a woman even more lovely. You look like you've been grieving.
Don't be clever with me. I'm sick of clever men.
Maybe I can help you.
You? A policeman?
Me, a policeman.
Well, it's all over now, isn't it, Mr. Clover?
Just about.
You want to know what happened at Martin Jane's party, isn't that it?
The guest list said you were invited, but you weren't checked off. That mean you weren't there?
I was there. Through the back entrance, Mr. Clover, because he said that was the way it should be done.
Who? What should have been done that way?
Look, Mr. Clover, I'll tell you what happened. I owe it to myself to tell you what happened. I'm tired of pain.
That's it, huh? Blackmail.
Let me tell you from the beginning what happened. Perhaps you'll even believe me.
You'd be surprised, Miss Rivers. Policemen can believe the truth.
Martin James was a man who made investments in all sorts of deals, a kind of silent partner. One of the partners was a man named Fletcher.
Man with a goatee?
He manufactured toys, Mr. Clover. I went to the party with him. Mr. Clover.
What's the matter?
Mr. Clover! The window!
He's gone. Who was it? Who dared you see? Oh, maybe you should have told me his name, Miss Rivers. Now you don't owe anybody anything.
Even as a coroner, I say it's a shame, Danny. Such a beautiful girl. Shame.
Yeah, it's a shame. What I've been waiting for is your report.
Yeah, Dorothy Rivers. Age about 24. Bullet entered left sternum, pierced pericardium. That's the heart, Danny. Dead on arrival.
Dead all?
This girl was shot once before. She's got a healing wound that, well, it looks mighty like a bullet wound. It's right here, Danny.
Yeah, that makes it all add up. That makes it add up just fine, Corner. Neat. Real neat. Oh, Fletcher? There's a friend, Fletcher. The payoff goes on just the same. Tonight, kid, 9 o'clock. So long, Fletcher. It took me 10 minutes to get to the Park Avenue Palace that Fletcher had built out of psychological toys for kids. Across the street, I took a plant behind a fat, uniformed doorman who kept looking at me out of the corner of his fat eyes as if he were terribly sorry a thing like me had ever happened under his gilt-fringed canopy. At 8:30, the lights in Fletcher's crystal chandelier began to go out in sections. In 5 minutes, he was on the street, hailing a cab. I tossed a nickel to my fat doorman, hailed a cab of my own, and tailed Fletcher to an office building I'd been in once before. I watched him slip Tippett a bill and then walk down the corridor to a self-service elevator. I thought it would be nice if he had company on his lonesome ride. He didn't.
Police! Why am I constantly surrounded by police?
Maybe because you bring sunshine into my drab life, Fletcher. You know how to work this thing?
Well, of course. It's nothing but a toy.
Allow me anyway. It's the 4th floor you want, isn't it?
Well, no, not at all.
Humor me, Fletcher. Let's make it 4. Right down this hall. 438, Dr. McClure's office. That's where you want to go, isn't it, Mr. Fletcher?
There are obviously some titillating gyrations going on in that mechanical policeman's brain of yours. You will reveal them to me, please?
I was waiting for you to ask me that in just that way. Here we are. After you, Mr. Fletcher.
Oh, thank you.
Now I reveal. The payoff money, Fletcher. Give it to me.
Ah, of course. I see. I thought it was curious that I should have to keep paying blackmail to a dead man. Dr. McClure is dead, isn't he?
The money, Mr. Fletcher. It's hard for me to say please.
Well, here you are. $1,000. You'll want it weekly, I presume, just as I paid it before?
That's cheap, isn't it, Fletcher, to buy off the electric chair? It's quite a toy, too, I hear.
Yes, quite. Then you know, of course, that Dorothy Rivers and I murdered Martin James.
Uh-huh.
Oh, he deserved it, you know. He swindled me out of a good deal of money.
What was Dorothy Rivers to you?
Oh, now, you're talking like a policeman again. Dorothy Rivers was a toy, expensive and fragile. It made her all the more desirable. That and the fact that I could make her do anything I liked.
Could you bring her back to life?
What?
Hey.
No, don't get up, gentlemen. As long as I was eavesdropping, it makes me less of a lady.
That gun's not becoming either, Nurse Elliott.
Put it away, my dear. Toys like that make me nervous.
I prefer this pose. Now, what were you saying, Lieutenant?
Now that you're here, I've got even more to say.
As a nurse, I'm a humanitarian, Lieutenant. You've got a minute more saying time.
A man should never lie under the circumstances, huh? And if I told you this, if I told you that you were the blackmailer instead of Dr. McClure, what would you say?
I'd say you were telling the truth.
What? Then I've been paying all that money to this...
Temper, Mr. Fletcher.
Oh, Dr. McClure took the initial $10,000, all right, but the nurse here kept right on blackmailing you and Miss Rivers in the doctor's name. McClure found out, so he had to die.
All through, Lieutenant.
Not quite, Nurse. After the blackmail, you had to kill Miss Rivers because she was about to talk to me.
Now, Lieutenant?
One more thing. If you kill me, the payoff stops. Consider it, Miss Elliott. I got $1,000 in my pocket. Half yours, half mine. It could go on and on. We could still make Fletcher pay. Think about it, Miss Elliott.
Put the money on the table, Lieutenant. Half yours, half mine.
All right. On the table.
Thanks. I'll take mine, Lieutenant. Now.
Yeah, now, Nurse Elliott.
I'll kill you! I'll kill you!
Put your arm, Nurse. Drop it. Drop the gun. Yeah, thanks.
I'll lift it up for you, Lieutenant. I'll get the gun.
Lift this, Fletcher.
You.
Got any smelling salts for Fletcher, Nurse? It took 3 police officers to carry Nurse Elliott away. She tore at their faces and screamed in a language she hadn't picked up in medical books. Fletcher? He was different. He settled himself in the Black Maria, pulled out a solid gold yo-yo, and played with it all the way down to headquarters. Broadway's happy now. It's got on the carnival clothes it wears every night, and the Midway boils with roustabouts and yokels and hurdy-gurdy sounds. It's a jack-in-the-box, and it's a clown. It's a shining girl on horseback, or it's a geek with no arms, no legs, and no heart. It's Broadway, the gaudiest, the most violent, the lonesomest mile in the world. Broadway, my beat.
Broadway's My Beat, with Larry Thor as Detective Danny Clover, is produced and directed by Gordon T. Hughes, with script by Morton Fine and David Friedkin. Musical direction is by Lud Gluskin. Be sure to join us next week, same time, same station, for Broadway's My Beat. America can be proud. America is proud of the young men of our armed forces. Painstakingly trained as specialists in many fields, these servicemen will be the leaders in tomorrow's civilian life. Educational advantages open to today's servicemen are unparalleled if you can qualify. Look into the volunteer enlistment program now. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jell-O family. Oh, the big red letters stand for the Jell-O family. That's Jell-O. Yum, yum, yum. Jell-O pudding. Yum, yum, yum. Jell-O tapioca pudding. Yes, sirree.
Our next radio drama is about a fabulous freelance insurance investigator with the action-packed expense account. The show aired on CBS Radio from January 14th, 1949 to September 30th, 1962. There are 811 episodes in the 12-year run, and more than 720 still exist today. Each story started with a phone call from an insurance executive, and each story ended with an itemized expense account signed, Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, right here on HOJO Radio. Next.
From Hollywood, it's time now for
Johnny Dollar.
Pat McCracken, Johnny, Universal Adjustment.
Oh, hi, Pat. What's on your mind?
The sleek, lovely, beautiful Ellen Deere.
On the strength of that description, I'll take her.
And she's loaded. $325,000 worth of jewelry.
Hey, that girl needs a bodyguard. Sweet.
Yeah, Johnny, needs a guard of some kind, only she isn't a girl. She's a boat.
I've just lost my enthusiasm. What's the matter with the old tub?
That's what I want you to find out, Johnny.
That last crack suddenly got me interested again. Okay, Pat, I'll be right over.
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to the Western Maritime and Property Insurance Company, Los Angeles, California. Following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the Ellen Deere matter. Expense account item 1, 90 cents taxi from my apartment to the offices of Universal Adjustment Bureau in Hartford. Pat McCracken's usual smile was noticeably missing when I walked in on him.
Come in, Johnny, and sit down.
Thanks.
Oh, and you're to bill Western Maritime and Property on this one instead of us.
Okay, but how are you involved?
We handle all their claims that are of any size. Story. You ever hear of Randolph Berman?
I know of a jeweler down in New York.
That's the one. And if you know him, Johnny, you've been putting too much gravy in your expense account.
I said no of him. Didn't he bring in the Star of Cape Town and the Kamandu Emerald?
That's right. Everybody seems to think he's a crook, and yet somehow he manages to handle some of the finest jewels in the world.
How could an honest man afford it?
This time it's the Bettenhouse collection. It's out of Hungary.
Oh, yeah, I read about that. Only I thought somebody down in Mexico owned it.
Yeah, a fellow named Rigo Mariani down in Guadalajara. He's the one who sold it to Randolph Berman.
Okay, now. Is this Ellen Deere you mentioned Berman's wife?
No. Former wife. He's on about his fifth. All beautiful, dumb dolls. But more important, it's the name of his 72-foot motor cruiser. And the Bermans have been traveling around in it, down the coast, through the canal, along the coast of Central America, and so on. Anyhow, when he got word that the Bettenhouse collection could be had, he wasted no time in getting to Guadalajara.
And that's where Western Maritime and Property comes in.
Right. They had already written a policy on the boat for $52,000. Their main office in Los Angeles was close at hand, so he had them write the policy on the jewel.
Is that where Berman is now, in Los Angeles?
Oh, no. He's still in Mexico. Didn't want to move with those priceless rocks until he was certain of the insurance. And before Western would write it, of course, they wanted the collection appraised.
Naturally. But who in Mexico?
Jacques Jean-Pierre, the famous gemologist, was right there in Guadalajara, to look over the collection himself. So he made the appraisal. The policy has been issued. $325,000.
I still don't see anything wrong with the whole deal, Pat.
Well, there isn't anything wrong with it yet. But in spite of Berman's standing in the profession, his reputation, it isn't everything it might be.
Yeah, come to think of it, wasn't there a killing or two involved in this acquisition of the Star of Cape Town?
There have been several things like that. He's been involved in attempts to smuggle in some valuable pieces. He always managed somehow to come out smelling like a rose. Legally, perfectly clean, you understand?
But you still don't trust him?
Oh, no. And with his planning to carry that load of stuff around in his yacht.
Yeah, I see what you mean. If anything happened to those rocks or the boat, over $300,000 right out the window.
Exactly. Now, belatedly, Western is worried about it. And they'll pay good money to have you assuage their worries. You have a Mexican tourist card?
Sure, from my last fishing trip down there.
And I think you better go down and guard that collection until Berman gets it safely up into the States. He's considered quite the host. He'll probably be perfectly willing to have you aboard.
Now, this is the kind of assignment I like. Yachting in the Blue Pacific. But surely he hasn't got his boat parked in Guadalajara. That's over 100 miles inland.
No, it's at Mazatlan. And from what I've been able to learn, it's surrounded by armed guards day and night while he has some engine work done.
But as soon as that's finished, he'll head north to the States.
So he says. Got a branch office in Los Angeles. He'll probably deliver the collection there. I just want to be sure he gets there, Johnny.
Okay, Pat. You can wire the boys at Weston that I'm on my way. Item 2, 191.40, plane fare and incidentals, Hartford to Mazatlan via Los Angeles. The first leg of the flight to L.A. was uneventful, except for a good-looking young blonde from Santa Barbara, whom I promised to look up as soon as his case is... Well, that's not for the expense account. When we arrived at the Los Angeles International Airport, I learned that I'd have a three-quarter-hour wait for my plane to Mazatlan. So I grabbed a magazine, that's item 3, 35 cents, when I heard my name being called on the PA system.
Johnny Dollar, report to Pan American Airways desk.
With the thought in mind that perhaps my little friend from the plane might have decided to stay over in L.A. Her name was Rita, by the way. I lost no time in getting over to the Pan Am desk.
Mr. Dollar?
Yeah?
Johnny Dollar?
That's right.
I'm Arthur, Western Maritime and Property Insurance Company.
Oh, yeah. How do, Mr. Arthur? Planning to go on down to Mazatlan with me?
No. But meet Monsieur Jacques Jean-Pierre.
Monsieur Dollar, I am honored.
How are you, Mr. Jean-Pierre?
This is the gentleman who appraised the Betton House collection for us.
Oh, yes. I am an expert.
So that we could issue the policy on it to Mr. Berman.
Oh, yes.
Yes, he's done this sort of thing for us many times.
Oh, I don't know
now,
how many.
I'm afraid that he's brought us rather bad news.
Something's already happened to the collection?
Well, not exactly. Not for the whole collection.
No, not the whole...
Please. That is, I'm not quite sure. What I mean is...
Yeah, just what do you mean, Mr. Arthur?
Perhaps I should explain to Monsieur Dollar, eh?
Well, I think somebody better.
Yes, you go ahead, Jacques.
Yeah, very well.
And while you're doing it, I'll cancel the rest of Mr. Dollar's reservation to Mazatlan. Yes, I'll do that. Oh, Claire...
Oh, no, wait a minute. First, let me find out what this is all about.
Oui.
Oh, very well. Jacques here was in Guadalajara when the Betton House collection became available for purchase.
Yes, Monsieur Dollar. I had gone there in the hope that some of the pieces might be purchased separately.
So?
Alas, such was not the case. The Mariani firm decided to dispose of the collection only as a whole.
I see. Well, what's this bad news you have?
I am getting to that.
Yes, you see, it's this way.
Please.
Well, then go ahead, Jacques.
Thank you. Monsieur Dollar, interested as I was, I looked over the collection very carefully, each individual piece. And you must believe me, to an expert like myself, every facet of every gem has a character all its own. A precious stone is like a face to me, always to be remembered.
Yeah. Well, go on, please.
I simply wish to make it clear to you, monsieur, that every item in the Betton House collection is completely familiar to me.
Oh, it is?
As are many other important gems throughout the world. You know, each is like a friend.
And each stone in them is like a face.
Precisely. Always to be remembered.
Yes.
Allô.
Well,
The collection is purchased by Monsieur Randolph Berman.
Yes, Mr. Berman.
Please. He wishes to insure it in Monsieur Arthur's company.
Yeah, I know all that.
Well, Monsieur Arthur requests by telephone that I appraise it.
$325,000. $325,000.
Ah, then you know.
I know.
So I stay at Guadalajara a few days to wait Monsieur Arthur's check for my services.
You want to be sure the check was
please. I visit some of my old friends among the jewel setters. And then, on the third day, what do you think happens?
You tell me.
Johnny, this is it. In the shop.
No, please, Monsieur
I'm
Arthur.
sorry.
In the shop of my friend Garcia Hernandez, I watch him work on the mount for a beautiful diamond. And suddenly, I see that the stone is an old friend.
One from the Betton House collection?
Ah, oui. The Calabar diamond that was supposedly in the possession of Monsieur Berman.
You're sure of the identity of that stone, Mr. Jean-Pierre?
Oh, please. As I told you, monsieur, a precious stone to me.
Yeah, it's like a face to you. So what you figure, Arthur, is that you've insured a boatload of $300,000 worth of gems on the way to the USA, and maybe they're not on board.
Exactly. Unless, of course...
Mr. Jean-Pierre, did you tell Mr. Berman about this one stone?
Oh, I went immediately to Mazatlan, where I knew he had his boat, the LMD.
Well, what did he say?
Alas, he had sailed away.
Did you learn his destination?
Oh, yes.
Los Angeles, Johnny, right here. He has a branch office.
Well, has he had time to get here yet?
I don't think so.
Have you tried radioing to his yacht?
No, I've done nothing. You see, I didn't learn about this until Mr. Jean-Pierre arrived just a few hours ago.
Yes, I came up on the aeroplane, the better to arrive and speak with Monsieur Arthur before Monsieur Berman would arrive.
Do you know where Berman plans to dock his boat?
Well,
Probably the port in San Pedro, if he is coming here. But who can be sure? Usually on vacation trips, he docks down the coast of Balboa, the yacht club. Or who knows, he might even...
Yeah. He might have no intention of coming up to the States at all. He might not even have the jewels with him. Arthur, do you know where his branch office is?
Oh, yes, it's in Los Angeles. Well, actually, it's in Beverly Hills.
Got a car?
Yeah.
Then let's go. Though he couldn't quite put his finger on it, Arthur was convinced that Randolph Berman was up to something and that his insurance company was going to have to take the rap. On the way into Berman's Beverly Hills office, we dropped Jean-Pierre at the Beverly Hilton and told him to sit tight in case we needed him again. Berman's office was in a nice modern building on South Beverly Drive, tastefully furnished with pictures of various famous jewels on the walls, but with nothing of particular value in evidence. However, I did notice that one wall held a built-in vault big enough for a reasonably sized bank. We were approached by a hand-rubbing, obsequious little character dressed in striped pants and cutaway coat and wearing thick glasses.
Good morning, gentlemen. Is there any way I may be of service to you?
Yeah, I think there is. Are you the...
Mr. Arthur. Forgive me. I didn't recognize you for a moment.
Mr. Corello, this is Mr. Johnny Dollar.
Hi.
How do you do? Is there something I may show you, Mr. Dollar? Some little bauble, perhaps, for a charming lady?
Well, not at the moment, Mr. Corello.
Oh, Mr. Arthur, there's no reason to mail this to you. Let me see now. Oh, yes, here it is. Here is a request for slight revision of the policy on the Betton House collection.
Oh? What's this?
Oh, the wire was sent by Mr. Berman just before he embarked for Mazatlan. I was going to put it into letter form to be more proper.
What's it say?
But
well, now here I'll read this. Please request Arthur revise Betton House policy. Exclude Calabar diamond, value $4,000, which I have sold private party in Guadalajara. Oh well, we kind of guessed wrong, didn't we, Johnny?
Mr. Corello.
Yes.
Has Mr. Berman wired you whether he's coming here?
Oh, of course he is, with that collection.
When? When is he going to arrive?
Well, his lovely yacht, the Ellendia, should reach San Pedro Harbor late tonight. But that's what he wired me, and I intend to meet him there.
Then I'm sure you won't mind if I go with you.
Oh?
Mr. Dollar is a special investigator.
Investigator?
Well, actually, I'm here just to help Mr. Berman protect that collection.
Oh, excellent. Then you can arrange for the police escort. Yes, and alert the harbor police to guard the Ellendia, as Mr. Berman requested.
Did he request that?
Oh, indeed.
But apparently he hasn't been worried about anything happening to the collection while he's at sea.
At sea? Oh, surely you don't mean pirates or anything like that in this modern day and age.
You know something? At this point, I'm not quite sure what I mean, or even why I'm here.
Well, of course... Well,
of course what, Arthur?
Oh, excuse me while I answer that.
Well, I mean...
Berman Jewel.
That is...
What?
Well, at least I'll feel better when the stuff is here in the vault.
Wait a minute.
Oh, no.
Corello at the phone paled visibly, then gasped and clutched the back of a chair for support as he listened on the phone. His jaw dropped, his eyes widened, and he shook his head once or twice in horrified disbelief. Finally, slowly, he hung up and came unsteadily toward us.
Mr. Carrillo.
Yeah, what is it, Mr. Carrillo?
The Coast Guard.
Yes?
They said the Ellender, the yacht.
Yes?
Sunk. What? In 600 feet of water. In the outer channel.
Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment.
Democracy. What has it to do with money, the medium of exchange of mankind? A couple of thousand years ago, it was said that money alone sets the world in motion. That's one way of saying that money and economy are virtually one and the same thing. The economy of a nation depends on its commerce. Commerce depends on manufacturing and services. It has been proven that those nations which practice democracy have the greatest economics. That means money, more money for more people, and a greater freedom of opportunity to earn a higher standard of living. That's why democracy provides mankind with its richest legacy of freedom.
Now, Act Two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the Ellen Deer matter.
Expense account item 4, $7 even for a fast taxi ride to Coast Guard headquarters in San Pedro, which is really the port of Los Angeles. By dint of elbowing my way in, I got directly to Captain Barney Thorson.
Afraid you got only half the story, Mr. Dollar.
All I know, Captain, is that the Ellen Deer went down in some 600 feet of water in the outer channel. Total loss.
That's correct. However, what you don't know is that the passengers, Mr. and Mrs. Berman, and the crew were picked up and brought in here.
Oh?
Outside of a little soaking and a little scare, they were perfectly all right. You see, the Ellen Deer had apparently had some engine trouble before she left Mazatlan.
Yes, so I understand.
Mexican authorities, with whom we fully cooperate, notified us we'd better keep an eye out for her. So when she reached the channel, we weren't surprised to get a radio call from her asking us to stand by that Universal joint was kicking up.
Is that what happened?
By the time one of our cutters got within hailing distance, she was on the way down. That propeller shaft had whipped loose, torn through the hull, and the Ellen Deer was sinking fast. Ask me, that boat was overpowered, Dolly.
How do you mean?
Well, it must have been because sheer torque tore the whole engine loose from its mountings. And it plowed through the bottom along with everything else on board that was heavy. There was a big safe, for instance, anchored amidships.
That was a what?
A safe, you know, a small, heavy steel vault.
Yeah, I know. That went down, too?
Yeah, with the engine. It was all our boys could do to keep the owner from diving over after it. It was crying like a baby. You'd think he'd had the crown jewels in it.
Maybe you're not too wrong at that.
What?
Not the crown jewels, perhaps, but a collection worth something over $300,000. Now, what about salvage?
Salvage operations in 600 feet of water in that channel?
Oh, yeah.
No, Dolly. Salvage, even if it were possible, it'd cost a couple of times the worth of that stuff at least.
The only passengers were the Bermans, huh?
That's right. Prove 3.
And they weren't able to save anything?
Nothing. Not of any consequence, that is. One of the crew didn't even have his shoes and shirt on.
What about Berman and his wife?
It's funny what people will do in an emergency sometimes.
What do you mean?
Well, you've heard about the man whose house catches fire, he gets panicky, throws all the china and the glassware out the window, and carries out the mattress.
What are you getting at, Captain?
The only thing that Berman saved in his excitement was 2 beat-up old hats and a fishing rod.
Oh, yeah, I see what you mean.
And all his wife brought along was a handful of nylon stockings. She was hanging on to them for dear life. Oh, yeah, a big hat box with an evening dress half hanging out of it.
And that's all?
That's all. Hey, you know, that Mrs. Berman's quite a dish. Not too bright, but a real looker.
Where are they now, Captain?
They're headed for Beverly Hills. Beverly, Wilshire was the hotel, I think. In any event, Dollar, I'm afraid your company is going to have a big, fat claim to pay.
On the yacht, yes.
What's that mean?
What do you think? Item 5, 320, long-distance call to the police in Mazatlan. I wanted to be sure that the Bettenhouse collection had been on board the Ellen Deer when she left port down there. Inspector Romulo assured me it had, that he'd checked the safe on the boat himself before allowing it to sail. Furthermore, he had insisted his own maritime service keep tabs on it up to the point where it made contact with the U.S. Coast Guard. In other words, the loot couldn't very well have been passed to someone else at sea. Item 6, 580 cab fare to Beverly Hills, where I dropped in at Berman's office.
No, Mr. Dollar. He and Mrs. Berman are at the Beverly Wilshire. I'm sure you understand it's been necessary for them to buy a lot of clothes and things.
Yeah, but he will come here.
Oh, yes, indeed. From his last phone call, I'd say he'll be here within the hour.
All right, then I'll come back. Please ask him to stick around and wait for me if he doesn't mind.
Of course, Mr. Dollar, I shall be glad to. Oh, incidentally, he has had me phone Mr. Arthur and ask that claim forms for both the Bettenhouse collection and the loss of the cruiser be brought here to the office just as quickly as possible.
Yeah, I'd figured as much. Berman wasn't wasting any time. Oh, I know there still wasn't any concrete evidence that Berman was trying to pull a fast one. Ostensibly, the only reason for my trip out here was to watch over that fabulous jewel collection. A lot of good I'd been. He'd lost the collection and his boat, and the company'd have to pay. Then a wild idea hit me. I suddenly remembered something that had happened months ago. Last July, to be exact, when a big passenger liner, the Andrea Doria, had sunk off the Atlantic coast. According to the papers, when the survivors were brought into the port, the usual customs inspection was waived. And it occurred to me at the time that every one of those people could have easily smuggled in anything he could carry or conceal in his clothing. I'm not saying it did happen. I'm sure it didn't. But it could have. And if such an idea occurred to me, why not to a man like Berman, who was already pretty well known for his tricks to evade customs? Item 6, 20 cents, phone call to the Coast Guard and Captain Thorson.
Thorson speaking.
Johnny Dollar, Captain. Answer me just one question, will you?
Sure, what?
When you brought them in, were the Bermans required to pass through customs?
Well, no, of course not. There'd hardly be any reason to...
Thank you very much. Item 7, 10 cents, another call. This time to Arthur at Western Maritime and Property Insurance.
You caught me in the nick of time, Johnny. I was just walking out the door.
On your way to Berman's office?
Why, yes.
With a handful of claims forms?
Yes.
Now listen, get there as fast as you can. Get there ahead of him.
What?
So that you can see if he brings anything into the office, like the Bettenhouse collection.
What?
Though I doubt if he'd be that foolish.
Foolish or not, how could he, Johnny? That collection, unfortunately, is at the bottom of the ocean.
Listen to me. Keep him there. Maybe on the pretext of having to wait for me. Any reason you can think of.
I'm afraid I don't understand.
Just hold him until I get there, understand?
Very well, Johnny. But what are you going to do?
Arthur, I may have to break in and rob a hotel room. I went out and stationed myself across the street from the Beverly Wilshire. 5 minutes later, I saw Randolph Berman walk out the front door and head east on Wilshire Boulevard in the direction of his office on Beverly Drive. I waited a few minutes to make sure he didn't turn back, then entered the hotel. At the desk, I learned the number of Berman's suite on the 9th floor. Break in? It would have taken a battering ram. So I tried knocking.
All right. You don't have to bust down the door. What's the matter? You forget your key and... No. Get out of here, buddy. Randy said not to let anybody in. He's out buying us clothes.
Oh, he'd tell you to let me in, baby.
Hey, who are you?
Hernandez sent me up here from Guadalajara.
Oh, well, then come in. Oh, you are in?
Yeah.
Well, have a drink then.
No, thanks.
A girl's entitled to a couple of drinks after that dousing in the ocean, and you might as well... What about Hernandez?
Your husband sold him the wrong stone from that collection.
Sold? Oh, he gave it to him.
Oh, then you know about it.
Oh, sure. So he could make a legit-looking change in the insurance and convince everybody he was on the up and... You sure you're from Hernandez?
You kidding? How else would I know about the whole deal?
I don't know. Hey, Randy said not to let anybody in here or he'd kill me. Dumb blonde, he called me.
You? A smart, beautiful girl like you?
Oh, hey, you're okay. My name's Vi. Come on, let's have a drink.
No, thanks. Listen, Vi. I've got to get the right stone from that collection, the caliber diamond. Then I'll leave this one I've got in my pocket here.
Which one you got? Let me see it.
Oh, no, only Mr. Berman. And only when he gives me the caliber.
Well, which one you got there, huh?
Oh, never mind. I'll show it to Mr. Berman.
I just want to see it.
Not until I get the caliber from the collection. So, if he isn't here, if he's taken it to the office, I'll just...
You think he's crazy? Let everybody know he... Let me see the one you have, huh?
Look, I just told you. Anyway, how do I know I can trust you? I didn't even see you in Guadalajara.
Oh, now you sound like Randy. Dumb blonde, he said. Keep the door locked. But I let the bellboy in with the drinks, and I let you in, didn't I? Well, let me see the one you got. Will you, if I get you the other one?
From the hat box that didn't have to go through customs?
How did you know? Hey, you're a cutie. I'll bet you read about the Andrew Dorsey, just like Randy did. Come on, now let's have
Where
a
is the
look.
hat box, Vi?
Now, wait a minute. Maybe I am dumb. Who did you say you are?
Where's the hat box?
No. No, I won't tell you. You get out of here.
Now, without the collection, Vi.
No, you can't. Randy would kill me. He'd kill me if he even knew I let you in here. Who are you?
Johnny Dollar, insurance investigator.
Oh, please, Johnny, get out of here.
The stuff in the bedroom?
You can't go in there. I mean it. He'd kill me.
Sorry, but that's your
Oh,
worry.
no. Stop it or I'll set your eyes out. Now,
Hey,
you get...
pull in those claws, baby.
No, you...
Well, I hate to do this, but...
No, help!
Oh, yeah, that's right. Get the manager up here. Get the police up here.
Police? Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Then you'd really be in trouble. You'd be better off if Berman tried to kill you. Now, where's the stuff?
It's in the closet, on the floor, in the hat box.
Thanks. Well. Just a handful, but worth a fortune. Well. Oh, now, wait a minute, girl. Put down that bottle.
I gotta stop you. He'd kill me, don't you understand? Just for letting you in here. You don't know him.
Look, baby, you're in this thing deep enough as it is. Don't try to make it any worse for yourself.
But when he finds out that I...
He's come back.
And I open up. Get my hands full.
What'll I do? Where'll I go?
Right here, behind this closet door. Quick.
Johnny,
Just stay there. Hang on to that bottle and think over what I told you about getting in deep.
Hi, where'd you get these drinks? You let somebody in here. Bellboy? Why, you half-witted bird brain, I told... Who are you?
The name is Dollar, Mr. Berman.
Insurance Dick?
I just dropped by to pick up the Bettenhouse collection.
Put it down, Dollar. I'm a good shot with this thing.
Yeah. And it wouldn't be the first time you killed over a handful of jewelry, would it?
That's right. Won't be the last. But you'll never know about it. Now, where's Vi?
How should I know?
She let you in here? I'll murder that dizzy blonde.
That dizzy blonde is a lot smarter than you think.
Where is she? What do you mean?
By helping me, she has a chance of getting out of this mess you've involved her in, of getting out clean.
That dirty two-timing... Dollar, I'm going to kill you.
You'd even like to involve her in that, too, wouldn't you?
Thanks for the idea. I'll make it look like she killed you.
Oh, no,
Nice work with that bottle, Vi. Sorry, missed you.
Please, you won't let him...
No, don't worry, baby. He won't bother anybody. Not for a long, long time. Item 8, $245 even. Incidentals during a couple of days of relaxation under the California sun and transportation back to Hartford. Expense account total, $453.95. Remarks? By way of getting off as easily as possible, Vi sang like a canary, and incidentally cleared up a couple of other of his shady deals. Result? By the time his prison term runs out, he'll be too long dead to collect the insurance on his yacht. End of remarks, end of report. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Now, here is our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, the DeSalle matter. And I promise you a double-barrel thrill in it. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood. It is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone, who also wrote tonight's story. Heard in our cast were Virginia Gregg, Lawrence Dobkin, Howard McNear, Jay Novello, Jack Edwards, Barney Phillips, and Raymond Burr. Musical supervision is by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Dan Cubberly speaking.
Johnny Dollar has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Tonight, show him how much lovelier your hair can look after a Luster Cream shampoo. Only Luster Cream brings you Kay Daumit's magic formula blend of secret ingredients plus gentle lanolin. Gives loveliness lather even in hardest water. Glamorizes your hair as you wash it. Luster Cream, not a soap, not a liquid, but a dainty cream shampoo. Leaves hair fragrantly clean, free of loose dandruff, glistening with sheen, soft, manageable. Gives new beauty to all hairdos or permanents. 4-ounce jar, $1. Smaller sizes, either tubes or jars. Tonight, try Luster Cream Shampoo and be a dream girl, beautiful Luster Cream girl. You owe your crowning glory to a Luster Cream Shampoo.
Stay tuned to HOJO Radio.
From Hollywood, it's time now for Johnny Dollar.
Hillary Fuchs, Johnny. How's your time these days?
Time to live, time to die, you know. What's up?
A claim on a $100,000 policy. I want it investigated.
100,000? What kind of policy?
Straight life.
You sound worried.
I am. I think we're going to be taken this time, Johnny.
Bob Bailey in the exciting adventures of the man with the action-packed expense account. America's fabulous freelance insurance investigator.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Expense account submitted by Special Investigator Johnny Dollar to Continental Insurance and Trust Company, 657 North Spear Boulevard, Hartford, Connecticut. The following is an account of expenses incurred during my investigation of the DeSalle matter. I'd heard of Dave DeSalle. I guess everybody in this country's heard of him at one time or another. DeSalle Television, DeSalle Radio, DeSalle Electronics, DeSalle Appliances, racetracks, theaters, DeSalle this and that. But up until the time I talked to Hillary Fuchs about the case, I had never put a man behind the name. Expense account item 1, $2, 2 drinks for Hillary Fuchs and myself. We had them in his office out of my bottle over his desk.
Just plain worn out with it. Stuck.
Ooh, have some water.
Oh. But I'll tell you this. I'm not going to make a present of $100,000 of stockholders' money to anybody.
I wouldn't do that either. Drink your drink.
Here's to war.
Salute. Now, while that's settling, maybe you'll settle down and tell me what it's all about.
Dave DeSalle. Know him?
I've heard the name, yeah.
Well, he's dead. Drowned 4 days ago out on the coast.
So?
Did you ever see our K policy series?
I've heard of it.
Well, the premium's about triple a normal life policy. It's designed only for people with big money.
Sure.
But it's got a feature that makes those people with money look at it a long time.
Uh-huh.
This clause isn't anything more or less than the old accident clause paying double indemnity. Broken down, we aren't taking much of a chance. The incident statistics are with us.
All right, I'll look it up if I need it.
Okay. 3 months ago, we insured Dave DeSalle on one of those K policies. 4 days ago, he fell off the back of a yacht and drowned, and we're hooked for $100,000.
Well, accidents happen.
You betcha, all the time. But I'm not sure it was an accident. At least there's not enough proof in this coroner's report to convince me.
You say it happened 4 days ago?
Yes.
Has the claim been filed yet?
Yes, and the beneficiary is the deceased's widow.
Inquest?
Inquest, burial, everything.
Was there an autopsy?
No, there was not.
Investigation?
Yes, it was handled by the local police in San Ladillo.
San what? Oh.
San Ladillo, a little place about 30 miles south of Los Angeles.
4 days ago. Why didn't you put someone on it then?
I did. Bert Kenyon. Here's his last report.
No evidence available to dispute coroner's verdict of accidental drowning. Recommend claim be honored. Kenyon. Sounds like cold turkey to me.
It may sound that way to you, but I still don't like it. I want it warmed up.
Now, look, Bert Kenyon knows his way around.
And he can miss like anyone else. I want you to go out there and work with him. Cover it all again. Get at DeSalle's widow. She stands to gain most by his death. Maybe the two of you can come up with something.
Well, what do you do about the claim?
Deny liability on the grounds that the accident is not proven.
Hillary, you will be sued.
I'll take that chance.
Fuchs was an old chance-taker who had been raised in the insurance business. The kind of man who gave a claim every kind of test, and if it still passed, he sat down and smelled the paper it was written on. And if he didn't like that, he'd take his chance. Expense account item 2, $138, plane fare to Los Angeles. Item 3, $3. A telegram to Bert Kenyon advising him of my arrival, which turned out to be at 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 minutes ahead of a fog that blanked out the whole area at the airport.
Johnny Dollar!
What? Oh, hey, Bert. How are you?
Johnny, good to see you.
Good to see you.
Come on, I got a car.
Well, have you got a cigarette? I ran out 2 hours ago.
Sure, man. Here you go. Good to see you. Good to see you, boy.
The last time I saw Bert Kenyon was July, a year ago, in Dayton, Ohio. He was there working on an arson claim for the National Underwriters. Before that, I'd run into him in Denver, Portland, and Chicago. And we'd worked together for 2 weeks in New Orleans on the San Antonio case. He sent me a Christmas card every year. I sent him one. We were as close and as far apart as two friends can be. When I saw him this time, he looked tired and thinner. And he lit one cigarette after the other.
You'll like San Ladillo, Johnny.
Yeah? How's the hotel?
Oh, old Spanish job. Big rooms, fireplaces, smells kind of damp all the time. You get used to it. Are you tired?
Yeah. Well, tell me about the claim, Bert.
Nothing to tell. Routine so far.
Oh, Fuchs was pretty worried about it. He doesn't like the coroner's report.
You know, Fuchs, worry. That's what he gets paid for.
Oh, that's what we get paid for, too.
Okay. On the face of it, I'd question the claim right away. Just on the 3 months period alone, I'd question it.
You still think it was an accident?
I think we should pay up and shut up. I'd like to have met this DeSalle guy, Johnny. Stocks and bonds and pretty blondes. He sure had them all. Wait till you meet Mrs. DeSalle. Wait till you see the layup. Boy. And Fuchs worrying about $100,000 claim. Do you know how much DeSalle's widow is worth? $8 million. $100,000 means about that much to her. Not that much. Peanuts. You want to hear something funny? Real funny?
Go on.
DeSalle bought that policy one day at the racetrack at Del Mar. Yeah, because an insurance broker gave him a tip on a horse. Yeah. I can just see Fuchs worrying about his $100,000 and finding out about that part.
How did you find out about it?
Mrs. DeSalle, she told me the story.
What about her?
Now, what about her?
She's the beneficiary.
Well, I told you, $100,000 doesn't mean a thing to her. Why would she kill him for $100,000?
Why not?
Fuchs sent you out here to take over because he thinks I lost stuff, didn't he, Johnny?
He sent me out to see if I could give you a hand. He wants us to cover the whole thing again.
Wouldn't kid an old pal, would you?
I'd never try, Bert.
I bet you wouldn't. I just bet you wouldn't.
In another 10 minutes, we were in San Ladillo, a sprawling little town built around a natural harbor. The houses looked expensive, the boats even more expensive. Kenyon pointed out one house on a hill, a 3-story affair with an acre or so of lawns around it. He explained it was the DeSalle home. I checked into the San Ladillo Hotel and got a good night's sleep. Next morning, Bert Kenyon and I went over to the statements of everyone who had been on the yacht the night DeSalle went overboard. Then we went out and interviewed everybody again, including Mrs. DeSalle.
It's getting awfully dull.
You understand we have to do this.
All right. Dave and I were having drinks with a few friends. He said he felt like getting a little air. He went up on deck. A few minutes later, someone was looking for him.
Mr. Burke.
It might have been.
Well, that's what's on your statement.
All right. Mr. Burke. We couldn't find Dave, and then I remembered he was on deck. We went up there and saw his hat floating on the water. We looked around. We didn't see him. I sent one of the crew to call for help. They fished him out an hour or so later.
You were never on deck until then?
No, I wasn't.
Who were they? You said they fished him out.
The police. Someone. I don't know. There were a lot of men. They tried to give him artificial respiration.
Well, what did you do?
I watched. What else was there to do?
Hard thing to watch, Mrs. DeSalle. Your husband just drowned?
Yes. Yes, it was. Is that all?
Yeah. That's all. Come in.
Hi. What's all this? Thought you'd be in bed.
Just going over the reports again.
Well, what do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I'm trying to make up my mind, Bert. About Mrs. DeSalle, the way she looks, the way she acts.
I told you she was something.
Yeah, sure. 50 men would sell their souls to be tied up with her one way or another. She had help, Bert.
What?
She had to have help to kill him. A dozen people swear she was below drinking martinis with him, so someone was up on deck waiting for DeSalle.
What have you got to go on?
DeSalle swam the English Channel 20 years ago. He should have been able to swim 20 feet to a gangplank. Drunk or sober, he should have been able to do that.
I knew about that swimming business. Expert swimmers drown all the time. We both know that. What else?
Well, why didn't somebody hear him yell?
Maybe he didn't.
Everybody lets out a yell in a situation like that, falling or in the water. There were a dozen people aboard. One of them should have heard him yell.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
All right, suppose he didn't yell. But suppose this coroner made a mistake about the bruises on the side of his head. Suppose they happened before he went over the side.
It'd be hard to prove now, Johnny.
Oh, look, she's got a boyfriend somewhere, Bert. She had to have one. The servants can be gone over. Somebody at the house has seen him. He's called her, sent her messages. He's our boy. We can bring him out in the open. We'll get help from Los Angeles. We'll call the legal department and get them busy. Get permission to exhume the body and have an autopsy. We'll bring... What?
Let this one go, huh?
What?
Drop it. It's just lousy enough to get by, Fuchs.
We got a good case, Bert.
I know. I've known it all along, Johnny.
A sellout?
Mrs. DeSalle offered me the whole 100,000. The whole 100,000, Johnny, to let it get by.
Who helped her do it?
I don't know. I wasn't interested anymore when she came up with the offer. Look, what does DeSalle mean to you and me? Nothing. He had a whole life, the best it could give him. We can't bring him back. I'll split the 100,000 with you, Johnny. We'd have a little chance for some things, too. Johnny?
Bird.
No deal?
No deal.
You're a good dick, Johnny. Stand up.
Oh, put that thing away.
I've been looking a long time for a mark like this. Now you've lost it up, and I have to beat it. Turn around.
Bert.
So long, Johnny.
went down to my knees trying to hold onto the desk. I saw him stand there a minute, like he might want to help me. And then he was gone. I did everything I could to make my feet, but my legs wouldn't work. And then it was all over.
Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, in just a moment.
Democracy. What does it mean? The word itself is of Greek origin. Demos meaning the people, and kratos meaning authority. Thus, in a democracy, the people have the authority to rule themselves. But where does the authority come from? The authority comes from the people themselves. They put it in their constitution, and the constitution can't be changed by anyone except the people. That puts the supreme power of the government of a democratic country right in the hands of the people, and the people elect their representatives to run the government. In that manner, democracy gives everyone equal representation in the government. Democracy provides mankind with its greatest legacy of freedom.
Now, Act two of yours truly, Johnny Dollar, and the DeSalle matter.
The light on the desk was the first thing I saw. It was still on. The window was still open. The room was the way it had been before. I kept thinking about every man having a price and how Britt Kenyon had settled for $100,000. It seemed like a fair price. It also seemed too bad there was no way for him to collect it. There were two of them, a heavy-set man about 50 years old and a tall, lean-faced man with dark eyes. They looked me over.
Your name, Dollar?
Yeah.
Police. We want to talk to you. My name's Blair. This is Sergeant LaFrida. You sick or something?
I bumped my head.
How?
Never mind. Well, what do you want?
We'll ask the questions. What are you doing in San Ladillo?
I'm standing around in a hotel room talking to a couple of cops.
Just answer up.
Don't be funny, fella.
I don't feel even a little bit funny.
You got a license to carry this gun?
Hey, what is this?
Have you?
Yes. Your meat-handed friend ought to put it down or it might go off.
Been fired, Tom?
Meat-handed, huh?
That's what I said.
I'll remember that.
Okay. Tell us about it. Tell us what you're doing here. And don't waste a lot of time doing it.
I'm an insurance investigator. Tell this goon to back away and undouble his fist or I'll break a chair over his head.
Are you going to try to be tough, baby?
I'm going to try to find out what this is all about.
You want me to pop him open to see if he's as tough as he sounds?
Behave yourself, Tom. Let's see something that says you're an insurance dick.
Top of the dresser.
Bring it over, Tom.
Sure. Here.
Okay. Now tell us what you're doing in town.
The DeSalle case. Now you tell me
You know
what
Bert Kenyon?
I know him. I've been working with him.
Well, he's been around town 4 or 5 days. We haven't seen you.
I only got here this morning.
You could prove all that, could you?
Oh, sure. With a plane ticket, with a hotel clerk downstairs, with a bellhop who brought up my luggage, with a dozen people or more I've talked to today.
And tonight? What about tonight?
Right here.
You could prove that, too?
Try the clerk downstairs. Ask Kenyon.
Where is Kenyon?
I don't know.
You ought to know.
Why don't you sit down, Tom?
Okay.
Now, when did you see Kenyon last?
A couple of hours ago.
Now, tell us what you talked about, and don't forget anything.
We talked about the DeSalle case.
Kenyon have something new on it?
No.
Don't hold out on me, boy. This is police business. Tom here's pretty edgy for a cop, but I'll turn him loose on you if I have to because I haven't got a whole lot of time to waste being sweet.
Tom worries me to death.
One more minute. Just one more minute is all I'm going to take off this guy.
Oh, shut up. I'll ask you again, Dollar. What's new on the DeSalle case? What did Kenyon tell you? The way we look at it, you came out here because something new popped up that might take 2 guys to handle it.
Look at it any way you want to.
Blair, you going to take this stuff?
Never mind. Okay. Get your hat and coat, Dollar. We're going to see a fella.
Not unless I know why. And I mean that.
Dollar, your buddy's been killed.
What?
Kenyon. Somebody shot him up an hour ago.
I put on my clothes and we went downstairs and climbed into a battered-looking police car. Tom LaFrida drove. I sat with Blair in the back seat. No one said anything. A half a mile out of San Ladillo, we turned onto the main highway and drove to a spot about 2 miles away, all-night filling station. There were a couple of highway patrol cars there, an ambulance, and men in dark suits who looked the way policemen always look.
Wait here. Keep an eye on him, Tom.
Sure.
Be just a minute.
He's a soft old gink.
I suppose you're hard.
I know how to handle pinballs like you. Before we're through, you and me, we'll have it out.
Okay, Dollar. Get out.
Yeah, sure.
Tom, put the spotlight on him.
Okay.
Good. Now, Posey. Posey, take a good look at this man. You ever seen him before?
No.
Look good. Take your time, boy.
No, man I saw was shorter by this much. He wasn't as husky.
Okay. You go on back of your place there and get some sleep, boy.
That all?
There'll be more by morning. Go along now.
Sure. Night.
What was all that?
Tom, get out. You stick around here with Dick and Wally.
Okay. You're the boss.
You get in the front, Dollar. You're lucky Posey didn't recognize you.
I suppose I am. Why?
An hour ago, Posey's pumping gas. He hears 3 or 4 shots off in the dark. Then a car starts up and gets out of there real fast. Then Posey sees your pal Kenyon stagger out across the highway, full of lead. Kenyon drops dead right in front of the station. That's him they're mopping up now. We had half an idea you might have been the man beaten in the car.
That's a dumb idea.
Yeah, he was shot close up, like it was somebody we were just standing talking to. An old friend. You're an old friend of his.
Blair, you got it all wrong.
Huh?
We haven't been friends for 3 hours. His full name was George Blair. He'd been on the Los Angeles force 12 years. Then they retired him at half pay when a holdup man shot off part of his right foot. He'd taken the San Ladillo job because it was the only police force he could find that would take a man who limped more than a little. Expense account item 4, 20 cents coffee for Lieutenant Blair and myself.
I don't know. Maybe we went at you the wrong way in that hotel room. That's my fault. But a man's been murdered, and I get excited about things like that.
I don't blame you.
No hard feelings.
No. As long as I don't have to do business with your boy, Tom.
Yeah, I got Tom LaFrida and 3 other boys. None of them worth the press in their pants. I need help, Dollar.
What?
This town's popping open tonight. Your buddy got it. It's tied in with this DeSalle thing somewhere. You're sure he didn't have anything new for you?
No.
You wouldn't want to tell me about that bump in your head, would you?
Not right now, no.
My boys are so green, they tromped all over the boat the night DeSalle drowned. They loused up anything that might have helped me to find out how he went over the side. They banged his head against the dock a few times, bringing him in. I couldn't tell if the bruises were there before or after he was in the water.
You don't think DeSalle was accidental?
I was murdered. She had somebody do it.
Well, why didn't any of that come out in the coroner's report?
My coroner runs a drugstore when he isn't being a coroner. If you feed him enough scotch, he'll tell you whether somebody's dead or not. He don't know from nothing. You know, the thing that kind of got me was this Kenyon. He went along with that coroner's report.
I know that.
We both know that. All right, I'll lay it on the line. I need help, Dollar. If I'm going to get anything done, find out who killed Kenyon, and get at this DeSalle thing, I need help.
All right, I'll help you.
I was hoping you'd say that. More coffee?
No.
Dollar.
What?
You can start by telling me about that bruise in your head.
Kenyon.
He sold out, did he?
Yeah. To Mrs. DeSalle. He covered up for her in the reports he sent in. A man back in Hartford got suspicious and sent me out to make a recheck.
Yeah, I guess something like that. No dummies, those claims men. Look, who'd he say was in on it?
He didn't say. I don't think he really knew. At least not any more than you and me.
No wonder you didn't want to talk up that kind of news. Kind of hurts, doesn't it? Like having a bad cop around.
You should know.
I know. Well, how do you feel?
Mister, I feel lousy. A friend of mine's been shot. What's more, he died a bum.
Well, I'm talking about dropping in on people while the smoke's still hanging around.
Mrs. DeSalle?
Yeah.
Let's go. It was about 6:45 in the morning when we left the diner. By 7:30, we were winding up the driveway to the DeSalle mansion overlooking the ocean. Blair mumbled things about the fog lifting and what a nice day it would be. I smoked cigarettes and looked and watched the contented smile he kept on his face.
Well, what do you know? Tommy LaFrida's car.
Oh, what does that mean?
Well, let's find out. Tom was off duty at 6 o'clock, as far as I know. I told you it was going to be a nice day.
Yeah, you did it then.
Nice place.
The only thing nicer is Buckingham Palace.
Mrs. DeSalle picks up all these little knickknacks when we probate that will. The boat down there, everything. Nice.
Yes?
Mrs. DeSalle, please.
At this hour of the morning. She's still asleep.
Yeah, we kind of guessed she might be in bed. You tell her the police are here and want to talk to her.
Police?
Now, you got it.
Yes, sir. Just a moment.
That's you, Blair?
Hello, Tom.
I'm waiting to see her, too. Thought she might have a little something to say that'd help in that Kenyon killing and be willing...
You remember Mr. Dollar?
Mister?
That's what I said, Tom.
What is this?
He's giving me a hand.
You trust him.
Better than I do you.
Kind of a crack is that?
No crack. Just that you're always talking when you ought to be listening. Besides that, you've been drinking again. Go on, get your hat and get out of here.
Don't
I just gave you an order. Beat it.
Okay.
He'd like to kill somebody, that bird.
I'm not so sure he didn't. You got a gun in that coat?
No.
Take mine.
What?
I don't like him being here. It just came to me. He was the first one down at the dock the night DeSalle got it. The first one.
Her boyfriend?
Could be.
I can't awaken Mrs. DeSalle. You'll have to come later.
Well, we'll handle that part. Which room is hers?
But you can't come in here.
Which room?
Top of the stairs, the first door.
Oh, you run along and buy yourself a cup of coffee. Come on, Dollar.
You can't go up there at this hour of the morning and break in on her.
Mrs. DeSalle.
No.
Hey, get the light switch. Yeah.
Come near me, please. Don't come near me, please. Please. Oh, please, I won't tell. I won't tell anyone.
Mrs. DeSalle, I just... Beaten up.
Good Lord.
Please. Oh, please don't.
Look, Mrs. DeSalle, we aren't going to hurt you. Tell us who did this to you. Tell us why. Tom LaFrida? Was it Tom? Tom helped you get rid of your husband, is that right? We know that's right. Now, what about Kenyon?
Tom killed him.
LaFrida killed him. Why?
He wanted money to get away. Tom said it'd be easier to kill him off than let him go.
Tom did this.
Yes.
Why?
He said people would be around to see me. Not to talk about anything. Not to talk about anything.
This is George Blair. Get an ambulance over to the DeSalle place, fast.
He said he loved me. He never loved anything in his life.
You big, fat pig. Turn around and get it.
I'll warn you, Tom. Dollar's got my gun.
He's next. You look at mine.
You all right?
Okay, his went in the ceiling. You?
Okay. He's gone. What made him, Dollar? What made him?
All these knickknacks. And her. Expense account item 5, $25. One phone call to Hartford. I told Hilary Fuchs the whole story, and he promised to send out the necessary legal aid. Item 6, $10. Flowers for Bert Kenyon. Item 7, $2. One drink. To one good cop with a bad foot. The drink cost $1. The glass cost $1. The drink for the good. The smashed glass for the bad. Oh, yeah, it was hammy, but it made me feel... Expense account total, $416. Remarks, none. Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
here is our star to tell you about next week's story.
Next week, one of the sweetest old characters I ever met. And with him, one of the cleverest killers. Join us, won't you? Yours truly, Johnny Dollar.
Yours truly, Johnny Dollar, starring Bob Bailey, originates in Hollywood. It is written by John Dawson and is produced and directed by Jack Johnstone. Heard in our cast were Virginia Gregg, Harry Bartell, John Stevenson, Will Wright, James McCallion, and Ben Wright. Musical supervision is by Amerigo Marino. Be sure to join us next week, same time and station, for another exciting story of yours truly, Johnny Dollar. Dan Cumberly speaking.
Johnny Dollar has come to you through the worldwide facilities of the United States Armed Forces Radio and Television Service.
Sure to go personally to your grocers during this week. You will be well repaid. Splendid values will be featured generally over a wide list of products you use regularly. Incidentally, you will find in the great majority of stores from coast to coast special values on Lux Flakes and Lux Toilet Soap.
Get this and get it straight. Crime doesn't pay, which was the motto of our next broadcast from the pen of Raymond Chandler. The first show aired on NBC in June 1947. And then in 1948, the series moved to CBS, where it was renamed. For 114 episodes, the CBS version ran and ended in September 1950. It was a more hard-boiled program than many of the other private detective shows at the time, containing few quips or quaint characters. We're proud to present to you the adventures of Philip Marlowe, right here on HOJO Radio.
Get this and get it straight. Crime is a sucker's road, and those who travel it wind up in the gut of the prison of the grave. There's no other end. But they never learn. Let me give you an example. I was hired to find a thief, and I did, 1,000 miles from home. But first I found a lush with a Luger, a fresh corpse in the closet, and all because the only woman in sight wouldn't play fair.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of mystery, comes his most famous character and crime's most deadly enemy, as we present The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Unfair Lady.
The knock on my office door was soft, almost apologetic. So when I mumbled come in, I was ready for something delicate and about as self-effacing as Uriah Heep. But when the door swung open, I knew exactly how wrong I could be. The gentleman was maybe 40, gray at the temples with shaggy eyebrows and a military mustache, and built like a heavy cruiser with a pair of catcher's mitts for hands.
I'm Elliot Flory, Mr. Marlowe. Mr. Ara Bjornson's secretary. Are your services available, sir?
That all depends on what you and Mr. Bjornson want me to do, Flory. What's the job?
Well, specifically, sir, to catch a thief. May I sit down, please?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. Mr. Bjornson is being robbed systematically of diamonds.
Are they disappearing from a store he owns, or is somebody robbing his wife?
No, Mr. Marlowe. You see, sir, Mr. Bjornson owns and operates the Bjornson Mines, the relatively new but important deposit of kimberlite pipe.
Kimberlite which?
Kimberlite pipe, Mr. Marlowe.
Oh.
The geological term of the diamantiferous blue ground which yields the minerals.
Oh, of course, diamantiferous.
Well, last November, sir, the 21st to be precise, you worked for Mr. Craig Norton, a mining engineer who lived here in Los Angeles. He recommended you to my employer. Now, Mr. Marlowe, will you take the job?
I don't know. You still haven't said anything about the stealing itself. Is it a Bjornson representative here in Los Angeles who's coming up minus?
It's Mr. Bjornson himself who's being robbed, Mr. Marlowe, at the mine proper.
Oh, I see. And he wants me to, wait a minute. This diamond mine, wouldn't be in South Africa.
No, sir, it wouldn't. It's at Rislo. It's a hamlet 100 miles south of Nogales.
South of where?
Nogales, Mr. Marlowe, is a city in Arizona, a few hours' drive from Tucson at the Mexican border.
Oh, now, look, Mr. Flory, I'm a private detective in the city of Los Angeles who's at home in a barn, a back alley, or sometimes with a blonde. Not in rural Mexico, is that clear?
Oh, yes, sir, perfectly. Also, it's something that Mr. Bjornson anticipated. I refer to your reluctance to make the trip, sir. To Mr. Bjornson in Rislo, Los Angeles is the nearest metropolis where a dependable private detective could be found. To you in Los Angeles, Rislo is a new world.
Therefore,
Mr. Marlowe, these papers. The first is your plane reservation, De Luxe Passage, leaving tonight for Nogales, where you will be met and chauffeured across the border to Rislo.
You know, you tossed that off like it was transferring from the red bus to the E-car downtown.
It's less complicated, sir, I'm sure.
It is?
Now, these other papers, Mr. Marlowe, are both checks, each for $500. One is your fee, and the other for expenses, not including your air travel. Your decision, sir.
Oh, well, my decision, Mr. Flory, is that for $500 plus, Rislo is plenty cosmopolitan for me. I'll go.
You'll go?
I'll go. At 8 the next morning, we dropped gently out of the clear sky over Nogales, where I was met by a short, round Mexican who ushered me into a car labeled Bjornson Mines, and suggested that I sleep for the next 3 hours, which was the travel time to Rislo, 100 miles south. So, after 30 minutes of panoramic, dry, sandy hills and occasional cactus, I did. When I woke up again, it was better than noon, hotter than Hades, and we were parked at a filling station in Rislo itself, which could have passed for home if you happened to be a prairie dog. It wasn't until I had my eyes wide open that I realized that the man leaning on the running board inches away and staring at me like my eyebrows were on upside down was not my driver. He was shaggy hair all around an unshaven, unpleasant face that was home to a pair of warted eyes that said he was drinking himself to death. And when he talked, I knew it was on cheap rum.
You're the new mining engineer, maybe?
Yeah, I didn't know it showed.
Since you're an American, that means you gotta be an engineer.
Oh.
No other Americans come out this way. I'm an American myself, you know, from Philly. Good old Philly.
Yeah, it's a great town. What's for sale, hot transits?
No, just being friendly. Name's Calder, M.J. Calder. I'm staying over at the Granada Hotel for a while, first floor rear. Why don't you look me up some night, any night along about 8. I used to be an engineer myself. Might chew fat a while.
Yeah, we might do that.
So, well, I'll look forward to it. So long, pal.
When my driver and I were back on the hot dirt road, I was told the Bjornson mine was the open pit type, a deep hole about a half-mile in diameter in the middle of the Bjornson property, which was clearly circled by 11 miles of 8-strand barbed wire fence, which was guarded by 50 ex-GIM Mexicans who were under the iron fist of one Captain Juan Lufino. 20 minutes later, when we entered the main gate and were slowly driving up a neatly landscaped white pebble road, I got a different picture of life at the Bjornson mines. It was the residential side, plush and strictly Beverly Hills, and the sprawling red brick house past the green and white tile swimming pool to the guest house beyond. Inside, I found the multimillionaire himself. It was a bald 50 perspiring and shaped like a bowling pin.
At 10 o'clock last night, Marlowe, it happened again. $5,000 worth of stones. The 7th robbery in as many weeks, excluding, of course, the usual trickle.
The usual trickle?
$1,000 or maybe $2,000 worth a month. That stealing nobody can stop. The natives, the guards, visitors, everybody. But most of them we catch, Marlowe, because in the first place, our policing is very thorough. And second, to steal a rough diamond is one thing, but to get rid of it is something else again.
Well, tell me, Mr. Bjornson, these big thefts you're concerned about, do they all have anything in common?
Yes. 2 things, Marlowe. They always occur at night, and they are the work of somebody who knows my habits and has a good knowledge of the inside of my house. The big safe is never bothered. It is always some drawer or cabinet where I am keeping stones temporarily.
I see. And, Mr. Bjornson, has anybody ever seen this thief?
Last night, Helen Austin saw what could be the man running through the grounds at about 11 o'clock. She said he was tall with a lot of wavy hair. She said that he was not the Mexican. Oh, by the way, Marlowe, Mrs. Austin and her husband are staying in the guest house where you will be put up.
He works for you, Mr. Bjornson?
No, Kelly Austin has a mine of his own about 5 miles from here. Smaller than ours, but rich, nevertheless. Oh, this will be Captain Lufino. Don't mind if he appears unfriendly, Marlowe. He considers your presence here a personal insult. Come in.
You wish to see me, Senor Bjornson?
Yes, Lupino. This is Mr. Marlowe, the detective.
Ah. When Senor Flore came back this morning, Senor Marlowe, he spoke very highly of your reputation in Los Angeles.
Mr. Flory only talked to my friends in Los Angeles, Captain. Now, Mr. Bjornson, you were telling me about the Austins.
Yes, they have been with us for 2 or 3 months now, while their new house is being constructed at their own mine. Their last place burned to the ground. I would suggest, Marlowe, that you speak to her as soon as possible. Also, the captain here will tell you of some evidence that he found here on the ground last night.
No, Senor. It turned out to be nothing.
What kind of nothing, Captain?
A fountain pen, yes. It belonged to one of the office workers. Senor Barneson.
Yes?
Did you tell him about that Nat Campbell?
Oh, no. Marlowe, the International Diamond Exchange keeps us advised of the movements of the bigger black marketeers whenever possible. 3 days ago, we were told that a man named Nat Campbell, an American who was at one time an engineer, has been operating in Mexico close to the border.
Is there an accurate description of him?
No. Anything else you have to know, Captain Lufino will take care of you. Also, I am sure that the captain will be glad to show you to your room at the guest house.
Sir, it will be my pleasure to assist Senor Marlowe in any way I can. This way, Senor, please.
Captain Lufino's interpretation of assist was to hand my suitcase to a boy, point a thick thumb in the general direction of the guest house, and disappear. So after thanking him for his trouble, I went to my room, unpacked, changed into a dry shirt, which was damp again in 3 minutes, and then started for the suite on the opposite side of the building, where I'd been told I could find Helen Austin. But when I was halfway to a screen door, I stopped at the sound of a raised voice that I'd heard before. It was Mr. Elliot Flory, who was about to leave and unhappy about the whole thing. When I was close enough to see Mrs. Austin, I could also see why. The lady was blonde, deeply tanned, just a shade off beautiful, and almost dressed in a white linen shorts with halter to match.
I told you
Elliot,
last
stop
night.
it.
Why
You're
do you...
behaving like a fool.
Oh, am I? Well, you just wait a bit, my dear. We'll see who the fool is around here. Oh, yes. Marlowe, what are you doing out there?
Calling on Mrs. Austin. Why? Do I need a visa, Flory?
No. No, Mr. Marlowe. You don't need a visa. You don't need anything. Well, come in, won't you? Elliot was just leaving.
Yes, I have to be running along. I'll see you later, Helen.
I can't wait. What's it here, Mr. It's Phil, isn't it? Phil Marlowe?
Mm-hmm.
Nice name. You know, Phil, I don't often get to see a new face around here, so anything I can do for you will be a pleasure.
I'm sure the pleasure will be all mine. But aren't you afraid you'll catch cold?
Why? Don't you like this?
Ah.
I made it myself. I do most of my things, you know. Regional styles are too far behind New York to suit me. My husband, Kelly, says I'm clever.
Better than that, Helen.
Kelly, what?
You're resourceful.
You startled me. Darling, this is Philip Marlowe.
I know. Ira told me you were with us, Mr. Marlowe. Can I be of some help, possibly?
No, not at the moment, Mr. Austin. Right now, I'm only interested in knowing if your wife here can add anything to a description of last night's stranger. Can you, Mrs. Austin?
Why, no. If there were anything else outstanding about the man, I certainly would have told Ira.
No doubt. But what about the run-of-the-mill things? His dress, the way he walked?
Like most men, Marlowe, he wore one pair of pants, one shirt. He had only one head. Also, like most men, he smelled of liquor.
Rum, maybe?
We all drink rum here. How about joining us in some after dinner? Long about 8?
Thanks, but long about 8, I've got to be back in Rislow to see Mr. Calder. Ever hear of him, Austin?
Why, no. Should I have?
I don't think so, no. He'd have very little in common with you people, with one exception.
Which is what, Phil?
Rum, Mrs. Austin. He's crazy about it. After I left Kelly in what with one healthy cloudburst ad would make a great Sadie Thompson, I found Ira Bjornson and told him that I thought last night's stranger, one M.J. Calder, and Nat Campbell could be all one and the same, and that I would like to go into Rislow and check on just that, which suited him fine. So after apologizing for having just let Captain Lufino go off the evening in his car, he gave me the keys to a battered station wagon and wished me good luck. 4 hours later, when it was dark and I was in Rislow and walking the dirty length of the ground floor corridor of the Granada Hotel, which was darker, I had a feeling I was going to need it.
Yeah? Who is it?
Marlowe Calder, the new man at Bjornson's mine.
Oh, fine. Be right with you.
Ah.
Didn't expect you to take me up so soon.
Yeah, well, you know the mines, Campbell. One's just as dull as the next, huh?
That's right. What did you call me?
Campbell. That's it, isn't it, Nat?
No. The name's Calder, M.J. I told you that today.
Yeah, and at the time I believed you, good old Philly included. Come on, Rummy, uncover the masquerade's over. Open up while you still can talk. What do you say?
Okay. Okay, ain't the biggest secret in the world. Here, sit down.
For keep! Why, you lousy lush! You don't aim any better than you lie!
I had enough, I tell you.
All right, we'll see. Now, come on, get up. We'll start all over again after we check you once. The kind usually has a nasty Luger tucked away someplace. All right. Now, what do you know about... Hey, Campbell, that stuff over there seeping under the closet door. The color isn't right for rum, brother. It's too red. Well, Captain Lufino.
Yeah, and he said, Marlowe, so don't move. You'll be right with him.
Yeah, you see, I was right, Campbell. Your kind always has a nasty Luger someplace.
Marlowe, I didn't do that. I didn't kill him.
Oh, yeah, sure. He committed suicide in your closet and closed the door as a gag, I suppose.
Yeah, that's enough. I don't try to be funny. I didn't even know he was here. I was out. When I come back, I found him.
Campbell, that line retired with a flintlock rifle. If you hadn't parboiled your brains in fusel oil, you'd realize it.
But it's the truth.
I'll tell you what the truth is, cousin. Lufino had a piece of evidence that tabbed you as being out of Bjornson's mine last night at 11 o'clock. But he passed it off as a fountain pen that meant nothing because he resented me horning into his territory. Then he came here alone to put a pinch on you and get the credit. Only you dropped him instead.
That's a lie. And I can prove it with the best witness in Mexico, next to Bjornson himself.
Who are you talking about?
One Mr. Elliot Flory, that's who. I was in the Cafe Quilota last night at 11, and Flory saw me there.
No dice, Campbell. Flory didn't get in from Nogales until this morning.
You're pretty seedy for a big city boy.
Yeah?
You can check the bartender at the cafe and see if I'm not right. But right now, I'm going to put you away so I can get out of here. Now, turn around, walk slow. Out the back way and down the stairs. Go on, move.
What are you going to make my murder look like? Robbery?
Don't act so brave. You'll live because I figure you'll clear me one way or another, whether you like it or not. Now, hold it. That's far enough. Now open that cellar door. Okay. When you get out, don't waste time looking for me. I won't be around. So long, countryman. Don't hurt yourself. Go down!
Cellar was as light and wholesome as a Parisian sewer. Even with the help of several generations, termites, it took a half an hour to break out. When I got upstairs again, it was deserted except for the late Captain Lufino. I went through his pockets, but they held nothing more exciting than battered cigarettes and some small change, but under the tight sash around his waist was a small green suede pouch containing 3 minute diamonds in the rough. I began to see what Bjornson meant by the usual trickle. Everybody, including the chief of his own guard, seemed to be in on the act. I dropped the pouch in my pocket and headed for the Quilota Cafe, where 2 American bucks and a nasty snarl at the bartender brought me the fact that Elliot Florey actually had been there last night. Had waited 2 hours for somebody who didn't show up, and then left. That made my next stop the mine. So I bounced the station wagon out of town, back to Bjornson's house, and started in. But a pair of bare shoulders above a snug linen halter intercepted me.
Hello. You're back safe, I see. Enjoy all the sights in our filthy, stinking little town?
Not much, Mrs. Austin.
You should have taken me along as a guide. I could show you lots of interesting things.
Like what, for instance?
Like the sky and the moon. I like things clean, soft. I like lights and music and people. I like you, Marla.
Save it. That Buttons and Bo's routine is strictly your own problem. I've got work, and it starts with Elliot Florey. Where is he?
What makes you think I'd know that?
Because you two have been keeping close track of each other for some time. You're anxious to drop it, but Florey isn't. And now he's got a hold over you, and you're worried silly.
Well,
and
you
skip
did...
that, too. From what I know, I can fill in a very unpleasant yarn, and I will if I have to. So come on, baby, no dramatics. Let's have it. Where's Florey?
Marlo, you're a louse. But at that, you're better than he is. He went over to our place, the mine, about half an hour ago. I don't know why he wouldn't tell me. Just wanted me to keep my mouth shut and left.
That doesn't make sense. Where's Mr. Austin?
My good husband is off somewhere checking on supplies, he said.
Okay, I'll pay a call on Florey right now. When I get back, baby, I'll have a lot of answers, so I advise you to wait up, huh?
Sure. When you're all through with him, do me a favor, will you, Mr. Tough Detective?
What, throw him back?
No, kill him.
After she said it, she stared at me for a moment and then turned and walked away, and from the bitterness in her face, I figured she had more on her mind than she told me about. But as I beat it around to the driveway where I'd left the station wagon, climbed in and wheeled out the gate, I forgot about theories and headed for the Kelly Austin mine in a big-scale diamond thief as fast as the rutted road and loose body bolts would permit. I'd barely gotten out of sight of Bjornson's house where from somewhere out of the truckload of shadows I was hauling in the rear end of the station wagon, the muzzle of a gun was shoved hard against the back of my neck and held there.
Pull over and stop, Mr. Marlowe, but don't take your hands off the wheel.
Austin, you're off your rocker. You've been working too hard.
Not so hard that I didn't get back in time to see you kissing my wife. You don't deny it, do you?
Well, for what it's worth, you got your subject backward, but never mind
Don't turn around, Marlowe. I'm sorry about this. I liked you when we met today.
Now, listen. We'll take this up later in detail. Right now, I'm after a guy who's been biting into Bjornson's diamonds, and I'm sure it's his own secretary, Elliot Florey.
Florey? Well, that's absurd.
Yeah? And what's more, he's currently up to something cute at your mine.
He's at my mine, Florey?
That's what I said. Now, after I've seen him, Buster, I'll be indignant with you all night if you like.
You're a clever liar, Marlowe, but it won't work. You're not getting out of this that easily. I'm going to tell Bjornson what you've done, but first, you cheap masher, I'm going to get some satisfaction out of you personally like this. Oh!
First one side of my head, and then the other exploded like Roman candles. I fell a long way out of the car door to the road. When I finally stopped falling and started back to my feet, I had a double handful of Mexico in my mouth. All the rest of it I could see looked big and black and deserted. The station wagon was gone, and so was my enthusiasm, and the picture of Marlowe on foot in the middle of the Mexican mountain looked pretty stupid. I trudged back toward the house. But I stopped as a pair of headlights swung out the gate and slashed down the road at me. Came to a sandstorm halt.
Marlowe, what happened to you?
It's a long story, Mrs. Austin. The less you hear about it from me, the better for all of us.
What do you mean?
That Kelly, your husband, was watching when you wanted to show me the Mexican sky and the moon. Up there at the house. He was just a teensy bit irate about it.
Oh, is that all?
That's enough.
What about Florey in the mine, Marlowe?
How should I know? When I got tangled up as a heavy in this corny gaslight melodrama, Wait a minute. Did you put that jacket on since I saw you last?
No, what's the matter?
Come over here in the light. Come on! Sure. Now, listen, Helen. You told me once sewing was your hobby. Did you happen to make this item yourself?
Yes, Simon. What's so important about that?
It's a long shot, but if it pays off, I'll catch both a killer and a diamond thief. I'm going to borrow your car, beautiful.
Wait a minute. I'm coming with you.
No, you're not. I've got to get Florey and stop a murder, and that takes a different kind of speed than you've got. So long, baby. With every jolt of the car, another Roman candle went off in my head, but I kept the gas pedal jammed to the floor until I saw the turn-off sign for the Austin mine. Then I cut the lights and pulled over. It was 400 yards up the side road to the gate where a Mexican sentry in a battered sombrero leaned against a post on a barbed wire barricade. I skirted him and followed a path outside the fence until I found the landmark I was looking for. There was another sombrero, and a few feet away, sprawled out, sleeping soundly from a blow on the back of his head, was its owner. 2 strands of the barbed wire had been cut, so I crawled through and up to the edge of the big pit. It looked black and bottomless, until a tiny flicker of light down deep inside winked on for an instant, and then went out again. That was my cue. But I was 15 tooth-and-nail minutes playing mountain goat on tiptoe down 150 vertical feet of ladders and catwalks before I was near the bottom and close enough to hear a pick biting hard clay. When it stopped suddenly, so did I, and listened with my .38 clenched in my hand. But Florrie had been surprised by someone from the bottom of the pit, not by me.
Austin, how did you... No, don't shoot, Austin, please.
Why not, Mr. Florrie? You found what you were looking for, didn't you? Didn't you?
Yeah. Yes, I did.
And what precisely did you find? That my mine has run out? That it's worthless? That I've kept it going only with stolen diamonds?
That's right. I suspected it. Now I know. You're the one who's been stealing from Bjornson. You bring the diamonds here, you salt your own ground with them, and then remine them as fresh stone.
And get the full market price, yes. But what do you hope to achieve with this information now, Mr. Florrie? You realize that I have to kill you?
No, wait. I have nothing against you, Kelly. In fact, I have a proposition to offer you.
You're in a poor position to bargain, but go ahead.
Now, you'll never get away with killing me.
Won't I? I got away with one murder. Bruno. He would have found out about me eventually because I made a mistake last night. But that sot Campbell will take the blame for him. And right now, you're just another trespasser, so make your offer. Make it good. Go on.
All right. I promise you, no one will ever know about this. If you'll get out of Mexico and leave Helen here with me.
You dirt! I'm not going to shoot you, Florrie. I'm going to strangle you with my bare hands!
I ought to turn right back and let you. Gas cool's out. Drop it, Austin. Stand still, both of you.
No, it's too late for that!
You hit him, Marlowe. You got him. I think he's dead.
Yeah. And I got something for you, Florrie. I hope I can get the slime off my fist.
Please, Marlowe, pour yourself another here. It'll help your headache to go away.
Oh, thanks, Mr. Bjornson. It's cooler out here than it was inside. It's better now, thanks.
I don't know. I am happy and I am sad both. You found me my thief, all right, but you lost me a friend in the bargain.
Mm-hmm.
And the way we live out here, our friends are as dear as our diamonds.
Well, there's one thing about diamonds, Mr. Bjornson. They won't go bad on you.
You're right there, my boy. It's hard to realize that Kelly Austin was our man.
Yeah, I imagine it is.
You said it was Helen's jacket that gave you the answer. How was that, Marlowe?
Well, Lufino was carrying a little green suede pouch. I thought it was his. But actually, that was a piece of evidence that he found last night. It wasn't until I saw Mrs. Austin's jacket of the same green suede that I realized the pouch must have been made from the scraps left over from the jacket.
I see. And since the wife sewed the jacket herself, that made the husband the logical owner of the pouch.
That's right. You know, in a way, you might say Helen's responsible for the whole mess.
How do you mean, Marlowe?
Well, it all adds up like this. Helen wanted diamonds bad. Her husband started stealing for her. Things went well until he almost got caught.
That was last night, huh?
That's right. Running across the lawn, Kelly dropped the little pouch. Lufino, who caught sight of him, followed and found the pouch with the 3 diamonds.
But Captain Lufino thought Campbell was the thief and went to Campbell's quarters in Rislo to force a confession out of him.
Mm-hmm. Kelly followed him, killed him before he learned too much, knowing that the rum-soaked Campbell would take the rap.
That Austin woman, she's got no business here in this desolation. She loves diamonds, but not in the rough.
No. She wants them around that beautiful neck of hers, with big city lights bouncing off them in all directions. But the lady wouldn't play fair to get them.
She's packing now. And Mr. Florrie has already left bag and baggage. Even Lufino is gone now. You know, it's going to be lonely around here, Marlowe. I couldn't prevail on you to stay over a while.
No, Mr. Bjornson, I'm afraid not. I'd probably catch myself picking little pebbles out of every clay bank I found. The first thing you know, I'd be stuck here, too. Besides, what would Hollywood Boulevard do without Marlowe? And vice versa. When the driver who was taking me back to Nogales was finally ready, and we started out of the mines, I took a long last look down into the gaping, dirty, lonely pit that was the Bjornson diamond field. And then, as we headed north and for the border, I settled back and thought about my own diamond field. The one that stretched out for 50 miles from the San Fernando Valley to Long Beach in blazing brilliance. Yet, in its own way, I knew it was just as dirty, just as lonely, and just as tough as the pit at Rislow. But it was my hometown.
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, created by Raymond Chandler, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Parley Bear, Betty Lou Gerson, Hans Conried, Paul Dubov, Wilms Herbert, and Nestor Paiva. The special music is by Richard O'Runt. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
She had soft brown eyes and an accent, and she came to town with a job to do. But before it was done, death had struck 3 times. Then she was gone. And all because of 30 drops of pigeon's blood worth $50,000.
Later this evening on CBS, you'll hear a voice saying quietly, "A tortoise told a household pest, goodbye, goodbye." And MD said, "You'll pass the test up in the sky." Those words are a magic key to $53,000 in cash and prizes. Like to take a try at it? Then be waiting for Sing It Again, CBS's hour-long fun fest of music, laughter, and wonderful songs, later tonight on most of these same CBS stations. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
Now, stop athlete's foot from spreading through your family. NP27 treatment roots out athlete's foot. Penetrates below skin surface where others can't reach, even into toenails. NP27 liquid stops itch, relieves pain, promotes healthy tissue. NP27 powder guards against new infection.
HOJO Radio, where the classics come alive.
Get this and get it straight. Crime's a sucker's road. And those who travel it wind up in the gutter, the prison, or the grave. There's no other end, but they never learn. This one had soft brown eyes and an accent, and she came to town with a job to do. But before it was done, death had struck 3 times. Then she was gone. And all because of 30 drops of pigeon's blood, worth $150,000.
From the pen of Raymond Chandler, outstanding author of mystery, comes his most famous character and crime's most deadly enemy, as we present The Adventures of Philip Marlowe. Now, with Gerald Moore, starred as Philip Marlowe, we bring you tonight's exciting story, The Pigeon's Blood.
At 5 o'clock of any weekday afternoon, the lobby of the started building in downtown Los Angeles is a mess of milling office workers. So I was 10 impolite minutes peering into chattering faces before I found my new client, Charlene Danielle. When she'd called me an hour ago, her slight French accent had been coated with worry, as she identified herself as an illustrator for a fashion magazine with offices in the building, and said that she needed help. She was huddled in a shadowed far corner of the lobby like a frightened puppy, going through his first thunderstorm. When I was close to her, she stepped into the light and hurriedly took my arm.
I am glad you didn't disappoint me, Mr. Marlowe. Come along, please, quickly. There's a bar just across the lobby where we can talk.
All right.
Come along, please. It's already late.
Soft, lustrous hair that was shingled into 1,000 short curls which kept running into one another framed a beautiful face, and a wisp of a smile that never seemed to leave her lips labeled her gentle people. I couldn't quite get over it. When we were inside the bar and seated at a table, she was still talking. And I was still thinking how lovely she was.
Mr. Marlowe. Mr. Marlowe, are you listening?
Oh, yes, of course I am.
Yes. Now, what I want you to do is simple but very, very important. It must be done at once.
Easy, honey. That's not going to help any. Now, one step at a time. What is it, Charlene?
I'm sorry. It's a terrible man named Marty Loomis. He lives here in Los Angeles on North Rossmore Street, number 7710, a private house. He is the one who had the collection stolen from Vivian's father. I know he is...
Hey, wait a minute. Whoa. Slow around the corners, huh? Now, first of all, what's the collection of?
Rubies, Mr. Marlowe. Rare pigeon's blood rubies. Exquisite ones. The 30 of them worth at least, the very least, $150,000.
Tell me, are all the rubies as lovely as you are?
Please, Mr. Marlowe.
Okay. Who's Vivian?
My best friend, the girl I grew up with in Lyon. She's still in France, but I got out before the war to Mexico and Ensenada. Some friends at the Riviera Pacifico helped me to get to California. Vivian and her father, Maurice Chardot, an old man now. They lost everything they had, family, a home, their business, and then they had only the rubies left.
Which should bring us to this guy Loomis, huh?
It does. Mr. Marlowe, he was in France only last month, a guest in the Chardot home. A charming American businessman who was going to buy the rubies.
But who just wouldn't say when. Tell me, Charlene, did anybody actually see him take the stones?
No, but there's no doubt that he did it, Mr. Marlowe. He was one of the few persons who knew where Monsieur Jardot kept them.
What about the police?
Oh, no, Mr. Marlowe, not yet. Only when we know that Loomis still has the stones, when we know where the rubies are. You see, any hurried arrest would only mean that the jewels would be gotten rid of, gone forever.
Why isn't Vivian here, Monsieur Jardot?
I told you. He is an old man, a broken man, and they are penniless. The rubies were going to be sold. That's why this Loomis was visiting with them. Now, please, Mr. Marlowe, can you do this for me? Can you find out where the jewels are? It would mean so much if we can return them. So much.
Yeah. Where can I find you later, Charlene?
I live at the Bradford Arms. The telephone number is Sunset 10229.
10229.
Now, what is your fee, please?
Well, We'll talk about it later, huh?
All right. You are kind. I only hope that later isn't too far away.
For Monsieur Jardot's sake?
Why, yes, for everybody's sake. Good luck.
Somehow or another, I managed to stop at all the red lights and go on all the green ones and not hit anyone all the way from downtown L.A., where I'd left Charlene, up into Hollywood and over to Marty Loomis's house at 7710 North Rossmore. Parking a half a block away, I stood looking at the rambling white house, vintage 1915. I was startled into action by a wiry, white-haired old boy in search of a match. After a quick servicing job, I moved up to the door. As I knocked on the massive display of aging oak, I decided that Marlowe should play the role of crooked jeweler to ease the entrance. When the door finally opened and an ox in Sherney blue serge answered, I wasn't too happy with my choice of roles. A big club would have been better.
Yeah? What do you want?
Marty Loomis. Is he in?
Who's asking questions?
The name's Becker. Mutual friend recommended me to him.
Does Lefty know about this?
He should. Why don't you ask him?
Okay. Come on in. Relax while I find out.
Thanks. Any place in particular?
Yeah. Flat on your back, big mouth. And don't bother going for your gun. I'll do it for you. Ah. Nice 38 at that. Now your wallet. Lefty. Thought you were picking up your cue fast, didn't you, Mr... Oh, Marlowe, huh? Private detective. What were you thinking about when you bit, Big Mouth? Something nice and calico?
You're warm, Buster. My mistake. Where do we go from here?
You, no place. Till I make a phone call. Excuse me.
Big jerk.
Westwood 9903. Yeah. My number? Gladstone, 2742. This won't take long, Marlowe, then you and I can... Oh, hello, Tony. Oh, it's Chalky. No, I looked every place. No, honey, I tell you the stuff just ain't here, but something else is. A private dick named Marlowe. Oh, I don't know. Yeah, probably one of that stinking Slater's boys. But you don't have to worry about Marlowe. So long, babe.
Your mother, Chalky?
Listen, Louse, I got one question to ask you, and I want a straight answer fast. Are you working for Zig Slater?
I don't remember.
Well, that's too bad. You know, I might have to get nasty if you don't cooperate.
Doesn't much make any difference whether I cooperate or not. Let's face it, huh, Chalky?
All right. Let's do it! Just... Big Mouth.
By the time I sorted my legs out from those that belonged to the coffee table, Chalky was gone. But in his wake, there were three things that a very fast, superficial search revealed. My gun in the hall outside, empty. Next to the door, my wallet intact. And near the overturned coffee table, a pawn ticket from the Ryan Loan Company, corner Hill and 8th. Receipt for one gray topcoat, right sleeve ripped, allowing $7.50. I dropped it in my pocket, then put through a call to one Lieutenant Ibarra at police headquarters. In a few minutes, I knew that Zig Slater was a fence who had done time twice on stolen property charges, and at present could be found in or around a shop on La Cienega Boulevard near Melrose, where he sold, of all things, tropical fish. I hung up and started out of the door of my car. But in less than 50 feet, I knew I wasn't alone. My shadow was the shock of white hair who earlier had stopped me for a match. It was his turn to be surprised when I suddenly wheeled, grabbed at both his lapels, and shook. Well,
hey, what are you doing?
It's no rumba, Pop. Believe me, I just want to rearrange your marbles. So that when you start talking, it comes out straight. Now, why are you following me? And don't tell me you need me another match. Come on.
I'm calling you because I want to warn you.
About what?
A giant of a man I just saw near your car.
In a beat-up blue Surge, maybe?
Yeah, that's right. You see, I live across the street, and after you gave me that match, I took my regular evening walk. But when I got back, I saw this man, this giant. He was going to let the air out of your tires, I know, but I stopped him. Yes, sir. I yelled at him real loud, and he ran away. He cursed me first, though. Now, aren't you sorry you shook me like you did?
Yeah, I am. I'd let you shake me back, but there isn't time, Pop.
Well, no matter, fella. I guess I can figure it all right. I mean, the way you're acting must be a beautiful girl behind this someplace. Always is, right?
Right. Just to make sure she stays that way, you'll excuse me, but I gotta see a man about some tropical fish. So long, Pop. Zig Slater's place on La Cienega was 3 walls, lined almost solid with bubbling tanks that were home for the kind of screwy-looking fish that made you wonder what they could possibly see with a bad case of DTs. Slater was small and slight, with black darting eyes that were too large for the rest of his face, which was prune-winkled, shaped like a Coke bottle, and had all the come-hither look of an octopus. He was on the phone. It wasn't until I was close enough to hear the number he was after that I was glad he was having trouble.
That was the wrong number.
Because it was the same digit arrangement that Chalky had called earlier. And prefixed Westwood as well.
No, operator, I did not call 9933. It was Westwood 9903. That's right. 03, yeah. Stupid people. Hello, Toby. It's Ziggy, darling. Where have you been? I tried to reach you half a dozen times. A walk, oh. Well, look, baby, you meet me over at... Wait a minute. Lost something, mister?
Why, yes. As a matter of fact, I have. One of my twin swordtails died. I was just admiring yours here. I'd like to buy one.
I'll be right with you.
Oh.
Meet me at the Blue Chip in 30 minutes, huh, sweet? Now, don't worry, I'm a little bit late. I got a few things to do first. Right. Goodbye, baby. Swordtails, mister, are $1.10, $1.35, and $1.80. What'll it be?
What? They started at $1.10?
Uh-huh.
At the last place, I only paid 90 cents for a swordtail. Good one, too.
Then maybe you'd better go back to the last place, huh?
Well, maybe I had. Good night, sir. And I was outside in my car and pointed toward the Blue Chip, which was an ex-speakeasy on Santa Monica Boulevard that had quite never gotten over it, I knew that I had something to work on before it was time to call Charlene and report that so far I had located neither the Rubies nor Marty Loomis. With luck, I could have words with Toby at the Blue Chip before Slater arrived. So 20 minutes later, when I was there and seated at an all-alone table for two, drink in front of me, I looked up at the sound of high heels clicking toward me and the 5.5 feet of blonde who grew out of them in wraparound suede. When I called Toby by name and she pivoted like she was built on a hinge, I was back in business.
I don't know you. What do you want?
If it's handy, Chalky's telephone number.
You're Marlowe, aren't you?
Yes, and private detective you ordered bounced around. Now, let's not waste any more of each other's time, Toby. Where's Marty Loomis?
Oh, sorry. I never heard of him.
Or the Pigeon Blood Rubies?
Who are you working for, Marlowe?
Don't you remember? I'm one of Slater's boys.
You're a liar.
Not a double-crosser, Toby.
Well, what do you mean by that?
And when you're on the phone with Chalky, Brother Ziggy is referred to as the stinking Slater. But when Slater's on with you, it's sugar and spice all the way around.
Which means what?
That you're not even close to being on the level with one of them. I discount Chalky because his kind you hire, pay, and forget.
When the job's done, Marlowe, so behave. He's right outside that back door.
It's a little thoughtless of you, isn't it, Toby? The lad's topcoats in hockey might catch cold. That I'd hate to see.
I'll bet. Now look, Marlowe, once more. What are you after?
1 Rubies, 2 Marty Loomis.
And if I can't help you find either of them?
Then I go to Slater.
On whose behalf?
My client who represents the real owner of the stones.
Named what?
It escapes me, Toby. Let's just call her a lovely lady from France, huh?
From France?
Hmm.
For a minute, I thought you were on the side of law and order.
What says different?
Marty Loomis is dead, Marlowe. Has been all night in the closet of his study at 7710 North Rossmore.
What?
And just so you don't miss the point, one thing more. I found the body. But first, outside, I found something else. Running away, it was a girl, Marlowe. A girl with a French accent.
In just a moment, the second act of Philip Marlowe. But first, for those who delight in the fast action and faster thinking that thwart the evildoer, CBS brings you 3 outstanding examples every Sunday. The Green Llama brings you the adventures of wealthy young Jethro Dumont, who uses his knowledge of the mysterious East to combat evil doings on this side of the Pacific. Call the Police summons Police Commissioner Bill Grant to trail the objectionable offender and bring him to justice. Sam Spade, well, what need to enlarge upon the extraordinary exploits of Dashiell Hammett's brilliant Private Eye, hero of the Maltese Falcon, and many other crime classics. You can find these thrilling examples of mystery adventure delight every Sunday on most of these CBS stations. And now, with our star, Gerald Moore, we return to the second act of Philip Marlowe and tonight's story, The Pigeon's Blood.
When Toby said French accent, it rocked me right back on my heels. I stood there with my mouth open, trying to reconcile death in a closet with the soft, deep brown of Charlene's eyes, while the blonde in front of me twisted her mouth into a victorious smile tender as a cobra's. I got up and went out the front way, dragging what was left of my pride behind me. I had to know the truth about Charlene, so I called her. She answered on the first ring, and I made my pitch. I said I thought I knew where the rubies were hidden and told her to meet me at 7710 Rossmore. Then I drove to Rossmore and waited, and 5 minutes later a cab stopped down the street, and she got out. So I went to meet her.
Marlowe, is that you?
Yeah. Come on, this way, Charlene.
Are they here, Marlowe? In this house? The rubies, I mean.
We'll find out, baby. Come on.
But you
Side
said
door's open. I said I wasn't sure, and I'm not. About a lot of things. Here, watch the stairs. You should lead to the study.
Yes.
You still with me?
I'm coming.
Yeah. This is it. Okay, Charlene. Now, if I've been lied to, this is the place to check. We'll start with that closet there.
The closet?
Yes, open it up. Go on, open it.
All right. No, I can't.
You can't because you already know what's inside, don't you? Well, I'll open it for you.
No. Oh, I didn't do it. I didn't.
You knew he was there, so he must have been in here before.
Yes, I was. I admit it. I tried to see Loomis myself this afternoon. I followed him downtown, but I lost him. When I got back here, I came in and I found him like that. I didn't know what to do. I called you, but then I lied to you because I was afraid.
And you're still afraid, so maybe you're still lying.
No, this time is the truth, I swear.
All of it? You're not holding anything back?
No, that's all of it. Oh, Phil, please don't force me. Please, you must.
Yeah.
What was that?
What was what?
I thought I heard a door close. I must be jumpy. I guess. May I have a cigarette?
Yeah.
Oh, you dropped something. Why, it's a pawn ticket.
Oh. Yeah, it's my brains, can't you tell?
The Ryan Loan Company, corner Hill Street and 8th. At Hill and 8th.
Don't worry about it, Charlene. It's not mine. Belongs to a guy named Chalky who had to hock his winter wardrobe to keep himself in hamburgers. Forget it. You want that cigarette or not?
Not now. Come on, Phil. Let's get out of this room. Come on, please. Phil, there is someone here. A shadow moved on that wall or the back hall.
Hey, you're right. Now, listen, you beat it out that side door. Go back to your hotel and wait there. I'll see who this is.
I want to stay with you.
No, now get out of here. Hurry.
Be careful, Sherry.
All right, creep, crawl out of the woodwork. Come on. I know you're present because you left your shadow sticking out. Right about here.
Ow!
Well. Slimy little sword-tail salesman himself. What are you doing here?
Well, I'll tell you, Marlowe, I'm just
So you got my name, too, huh?
And more. From a short talk with a platinum blonde named Toby.
Who you fencing for, Slater, her or Loomis?
Fencing? You find things out, don't you? Well, I didn't want to do it. I've been going straight since I got paroled, but legitimate business has been lousy.
So when Loomis wanted you to arrange a deal, you took him up, huh?
Yeah, but right away it got too hot. I had it all set until that blonde started cutting in on Loomis. I don't go for that. Nobody's got a chance in a double cross. For instance, I know what's in the closet, see? And Toby's the one that put him there. She told me.
Toby killed him? Did she have the stones?
I don't know. I guess so. Because she was trying to make me go through with the deal. But I turned her down. Then I had to sap that gorilla Chalky to get away.
It's good, but it won't fit, Slater. Why'd you come back here?
To clean up the joint. With my record, all it would take is for my phone number, even my initials to turn up here, and I'm cooked.
Where does Toby live?
If I tell you, will you give me a break?
You'll tell me anyway and fast, or I'll give you a break on the side of your head. Let's have it talk.
Okay. 3156 South Ogden Drive, Apartment C. Now, how about it, pal? Will you forget you saw me here?
You louse. You're whining because things got tough. If they hadn't, you'd be getting calluses from counting money. You're a crummy spider, Slater, so stay out of my way. Because next time we meet, I'll step on you. The little man rolled his big head up at me and grinned. I looked at it a minute, then shoved it hard to one side and walked out. The way things stood, I figured the next move, which was mine, had to be first a call to the police to report Loomis's murder, and second a fast pressure play on a faster blonde named Toby. But I was wrong on both counts because I was halfway to my car when I found out the next move wasn't mine at all. Out of the corner of my eye, I caught a shadow easing toward me under the cover of the hedge. It was the white-haired duffer again, and the setup was just like before. So I saw no reason why the same maneuver wouldn't work twice. I slowed down to give him plenty of time. When I was sure he was right behind me, I turned fast and swung at thin air.
How many times do you think you can pull that stunt, son?
Okay, it was my mistake.
Yes, it was. And don't move because my gun goes off. I want to ask you a few things.
I don't feel talkative.
Who are you? And what's your racket, son?
Philip Marlowe, private detective. What's yours?
That doesn't happen to be any of your business, son. Let's just say I'm looking for one Vivian Jardot. Happen to know where she is?
Vivian Jardot? Sure. Right now she's in France. Lyon, to be specific.
Yeah, she's in France right now, like you're in Madagascar. Save yourself trouble, son. Where is she?
You know, you wouldn't know the truth if it fell on you.
What's your angle, Marlowe?
Oh, come on. Let's not be coy. It's the same as yours, a fistful of rubies.
Well, now, you don't say. And I suppose that's why Vivian Jardot's been following Loomis around all afternoon.
Vivian again. You won't turn loose, will you?
Now, listen, son. The Jardot dame is here in town. I happen to know she hopped off a Norwegian freighter. I finally picked her up right here. She was tagging Loomis, and I tagged her. We played Ring Around the Rosie clear downtown. I lost them in a traffic jam, but I picked up Loomis again for a few minutes at the corner of Hill and 8th. The Jardot girl I lost...
Wait a minute. Did you say Loomis was at Hill and 8th?
Yes, that's right. Why?
Because I know a guy who'll give $6 for a gray topcoat on that corner.
So what?
So whoever said you can't teach an old dog new tricks was nuts, wasn't it? That one's called Slap the Pistol and Bust the Old Geezer. Sorry, Pop, it had to be. I got business that won't keep. So long. I ran in my car, piled in, and headed down Wilshire Boulevard wide open. Because any way I looked at it, Ryan's pawn parlor at Hill and 8th was home plate, and in the time I'd spent gabbing with Pop, there was a good chance that blood was already being spilled on an old gray topcoat with a lining full of rubies. And when I remembered Charlene had walked out with a pawn ticket for that coat in her hand, I got a little sick. When I got to Hill and 8th, I spotted Ryan's place squeezed into a 4-foot crevice between two tall buildings and dark inside. I cut my lights, parked, reloaded my .38, and walked up the alley to the back door. It was standing open a foot, and inside a flashlight was lying on a table while moving in and out of its beam as she clawed through a rack of second-hand topcoats was Charlene. At her feet, face up on the floor with a nasty gash over one eye, was a man who no doubt used to answer to the name of Ryan. I eased the door open another foot and went in. I got as far as the glow of light before she saw me.
Phil! Oh, no.
Why'd you slug him, honey? You had the ticket. You could have just...
She didn't slug him, Marlowe. I did.
Slater.
Yeah, don't turn around. Just toss your gun back here. Come on. That's it. Well, that takes care of everybody now. We're all here so we can get back to work.
Aren't you forgetting Toby and her trained ape?
No, Toby can't make it. And Chalky won't without her. She can't make it because she's dead. I found a nice closet for her, too. Oh, I told you a fib when I said she killed Loomis. I did that to both of them. Because they were double-crossing me. They were cutting me out of my own deal, and they were laughing about it. I can't stand to have people laugh at me.
It's my fault, Phil. I didn't wait for you. When I realized that Loomis had pawned the coat and not that Chalky, I was sure that he had hidden the rubies in it for safekeeping, so I came here and now...
And so did I, and I caught her. Then I set a little trap for the big, strong man who steps on little spiders. Now you, which coat is it? This one?
No, I don't know.
Oh, so it is this one. Well, give it to me.
No, you can't take it. Stay away from me.
Give me that.
Charlene, don't be a fool. Let him have the coat.
No, the rubies in it are mine. They belong to my father. I came halfway around the world to get them and to take them home, and I won't give them up to this grotesque, ugly little man.
What did you say?
Why, you... Get out!
Slater. He's hit, but...
He sure is, son. The door here was as open as an invitation to the old-timers' picnic. I've been listening. Now, don't move now, either one of you. I've still got some business with Miss Vivian Jardot. Hey, come back here!
Charlene! You missed. That's your last chance, believe me, you trigger-happy jerk.
She's out the door. Stand aside, son. I've got to get that girl.
I don't think so.
Whose car is that out there? Yours?
Yeah, with a full tank of gas. What are you grinning about?
Okay, son, she's gone. Girl, coat, and rubies. Got away from both of us, didn't she? And from the look on your face, you're not quite sure whether you've lost or won.
Two hectic hours jammed with phone calls, police reports on Toby and Chalky, and a long-winded conversation in general went by before the whole mess of dovetailed motives and overlapping authority was straightened out, to the point where Detective Lieutenant Ibarra decided to get along without us and turned me in, my white-haired pal, who I blush to discover was one Sam Harris, 20 years an officer with the Immigration Service, loose on the town again. In Sam's car, we threaded through the traffic.
Big night, wasn't it, son?
Yeah. You know, Sam, you should have told me who you were and saved yourself that swollen jaw.
Yeah, that's all right. In a mix-up like this one was, a few loose teeth are better than a loose tongue any day. All I knew was that Vivian Jardot was an alien who jumped ship. I didn't know a thing about those rubies until I was right in the middle of it.
And she just made up the whole story, huh? About being Charlene Danielle and working here as an illustrator?
That's right.
What are you going to do about her, Harris?
Well, son, as it works out, I'm on her side now.
How's that?
She wants to get back to France, and it's my job to see that she does. There won't be any trouble. You know, she's a crazy kid to try what she did alone. But she made up her mind to get her rubies back, and she did.
Yeah.
She's pretty, too. Or did you happen to notice?
Mm-hmm.
You're not listening.
I was looking at that medal you got there on your keychain. Pistol marksmanship champion, New York service range. You know, Harris, when you shot at Charlene tonight, you...
No, wait a minute, son. It was dark, and that medal is 10 years old. Besides, it's not polite to put a man in a spot where he has to argue with his conscience.
My mistake.
Well, there's your car, exactly where I said it'd be. Right across from the airline passenger gate. Someone who had to make a plane in a hurry must have borrowed it. Amazing, isn't it? Good night, Marlowe.
See you again, Sam. And thanks. When Harris drove away, I walked over to my car and got in. But I didn't start up right away. Instead, I just sat there and thought of a plane fading off somewhere in the night. And a girl from France with soft brown eyes. And remembered that I didn't even get a chance to say goodbye. But then I saw it. The note stuck over the ignition key, scribbled on an old envelope in hurried pencil. All it said was, "Someday, Sherry, someday."
The Adventures of Philip Marlowe, bringing you Raymond Chandler's most famous character and crime's most deadly enemy, star Gerald Moore, and are produced and directed by Norman MacDonald. Script is by Mel Donnelly, Robert Mitchell, and Gene Levitt. Featured in the cast were Elma Lawton, Edgar Barrier, Gloria Blondell, Herb Butterfield, and Barney Phillips. The special music is by Richard Orant. Be sure and be with us again next week when Philip Marlowe says...
Easy money is a sucker's racket. This time it started as a routine search for a rich girl's fiancé, and the trail led to a silent house haunted by a face at the window and blood in an open cedar chest. But before it was over, it became a quest for a corpse that wouldn't sit still.
Oh, will he be in France? The lady took a chance. Hilo the Dane will show. Who could resist romance? You'll be hearing 4 short lines sung sweetly later tonight, and to some bright, lucky CBS listener, they'll be the key to $50,000 in prizes and cash. It's the new Phantom voice song on CBS's sensational Saturday night Sing It Again program. An hour-long bonanza of prizes, music, and gaiety. Phone calls go out to all the nation asking CBS listeners to solve gay little riddle songs. And for those who guess these riddles, it means a chance at the $50,000 Phantom Award. $25,000 in super prizes for solving the Phantom's identity. $25,000 more in cold cash for answering only one more question about the Phantom. Listen closely when Sing It Again comes to you on most of these same CBS network stations just a little later this evening. This is Roy Rowan speaking. Now, stay tuned for Gangbusters, which follows immediately over most of these same stations. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
What you are tomorrow depends on what you eat today. So, Mother, be sure the big and little Indians at your house always eat a good breakfast. And tell me, what could be better for breakfast than Post Toasties? Post Toasties, you know, are the heat-good cornflakes. The best thing that's happened to corn since the Indians discovered it. But all of the talking in the world couldn't tell you how downright delicious Post Toasties are. You have to taste those crackling, crisp flakes. Yes, you have to taste that sweet kernel corn flavor toasted. Then you know how perfectly wonderful breakfast can be. Put Post Toasties on your shopping list right now, Mother. Just watch how your whole tribe goes for them. Remember, Post Toasties are the heat-good cornflakes.
Our next broadcast was a radio series that was loosely based on a private detective character created by writer Dashiell Hammett for the Maltese Falcon. The show ran for 13 episodes on ABC in 1946, for 157 episodes on CBS from 1946 to 1947, and finally for 51 more episodes on NBC from 1949 to 1951. The series starred Howard Duff as the titular character and Lauren Tuttle as his secretary Effie. We proudly present to you The Adventures of Sam Spade on HOJO Radio.
The Adventures of Sam Spade, Detective.
it in to Detective Lieutenant Dundee, Homicide Detail, San Francisco Police, from Samuel Spade, license number 137596. Subject, the betrayal in Bumpus Hell. Red Gillis was a raw-boned poke from the border country. He was a stranger to Bumpus Hell, but he was no stranger to trouble. He jogged his Pinto down the narrow main street, not liking what he saw, and reined up in front of the sheriff's office. He dismounted and slapped the trail dust off his Levi's. Then he hitched up his gun belt and ambled inside. He looked at the heavy-shouldered, blue-jowled man behind the desk, and he didn't like what he saw. Neither did the sheriff, Rance Blaggett. State your business. I can do it better than that. State your business and get out, he snarled. Red smiled thinly and drawled, I'm looking for my brother. And what be your name outside of Red? Here, I can do that better than that. And what be your name outside of Red? Red Gillis's hand slid toward one of the six-shooters as silently as the sun coming up over the butte. Gillis, he sneered. Red Gillis from the Tonto Rim. That's pretty good. The sheriff's muscles tightened like steel springs and pulled him erect. Ain't no Tonto Rimmer welcome hereabouts in Bumpus Hell, he cursed. That was real good. And then the slap of 4 hands on leather was followed by the simultaneous roar of 4 6-guns. Hey, wait a minute. The sheriff...
I know they're in there.
Well, who is it? The sheriff is just...
It's the Spade. Miss Kelsey next door.
Right in the most exciting part.
Mr. Spade, now see here. I won't take no for an answer. It wouldn't be neighborly.
What is it, Mrs. Kelsey?
Never you mind, come along. What are you up to here, anyway?
Who, me? Oh, nothing. I'm just relaxing with an apple and a good book,
I
that's
don't
all.
see no apple, and the only reading matter I see is some Western trash.
Trash?
Now, come on. There's trouble on the 3rd floor.
Well, there's trouble in Bumpus Hell.
Don't you swear at me.
I'm not...
I know my duty, and I know your duty. Now, come on. Get moving.
Ouch. Okay, let go my ear. And that, Dundee, so help me, is how it started. Effie had just read a book called How to Relax, and it said there that Western stories were relaxing, and that's how I happened to be at home at 10 p.m., writing Herd on a copy of Sheriff and Outlaw, rip-roaring adventures of the Old West. But Bumpus Hell hath no fury like my neighbor, Mrs. Kelsey. I left Red Gillis and the sheriff face to face and vice versa, eyes flashing and guns ablaze, and followed her meekly up to the 3rd floor.
Sorry to hear that. Been at it for 3 hours, they have. Won't be a stick of furniture left in the room, less than there's top.
You speak to them?
Did I speak to them? You see this lump? No, here, under my transformation.
Oh, well, why didn't you call a cop?
Well, it wouldn't be neighborly. It's me that did. You see this lump?
Yeah, you showed it to me. Put your wig back on. I'll see what I can do.
And tell them about my lump. It's evident.
Yeah, put it back. Hey, open up.
I would not go back with you if you was the last man on the
Hey, open up.
Have it your own way. If I catch you with that square again, I'll tear your hair out.
you
had you boy, you rotter, you cheap grifter, you. Will you slam out of here before I'm forced to seek the assistance of a couple of flashy. Do not try anything fancy behind my back, you big slob. From now on, you and me is strictly on the cool beaty. You unprincipled rat. Hey, let go of me.
Don't throw it.
Hey, wait a minute. Don't I remember you from someplace?
No, I'm only being neighborly. Why did you beat up on kind, nice Mrs. Kelsey?
That is a gross falsehood. I did not lay a hand on the old wag. It was that odious stinker, Joe Donegan, who was just left. And you can tell him, as from me, that I'm extremely unimpressed with his cheap threats to rub me out, and that I intend to continue on seeing Mr. Hobson or any other Johns which I care to.
That's pretty good singing.
Oh.
Well, you better tell him that yourself. I don't imagine I'll be seeing him.
You won't? Hey, wait a minute. Who are you, anyway?
Just another tenant. I live downstairs.
Oh, well, now I recall whom you are. You are that Seamus, which lives on the 2nd floor rear.
Shamus, we call it in the radio.
Seamus, would you care to come in and discuss a certain matter?
Well, thanks. Another time. I got to get back to Bumpus Hell.
Whoever she is, let her cool her heels for a few moments.
No, you don't understand. Bumpus
This is
Hell.
an urgent matter which I would like to hash over right now and without further delay.
Well,
May I invite you in for a straight slug?
Well, okay, but just one. In a glass.
All right, make yourself comfy. Now, say when.
Just up to the lipstick mark.
Here you are. Well, now to make a long story short, Mr. Spade, my name is Rosemary Fell, which remains my stage name, notwithstanding the circumstance. But I am legally married to that barnacle which has just dusted this joint. Now, being as you are in the detective business...
Now, wait a minute.
Kindly permit me to finish, honey.
Sorry, sweetheart.
I'm not the type to jaw about my troubles just to pass the time of day.
I'm sure you're not.
I am an actress.
I knew that.
And although I'm low in funds, due to being between jobs right now, on account of that knothead making a scene in the last joint at which I worked... Cheap ginger ale. Just to show you how the breaks fall, Mr. Spade, Belita Wilkerson, who just happens to be about the biggest talent agent in this city, if you have the time,
I'm impressed.
phoned me on the telephone, and arranged an audition. She also advanced me the sum of 100 clams.
100?
Which I will pay you to put the B on that dog, Joe Donegan, the rat.
Now, which is he? What do you mean, put the B on him?
Listen, Sam, that grifter has got a record as long as my arm. And what I have got on him is longer than his arm.
Please.
In short, I should like him thrown into the can so that I can feel safe to sing on him.
Look, Rosemary, so you had a fight with Joe. You're sore. You want to pay him off. Now,
Right.
why don't you just wait until morning and see how you feel
Sam,
then?
listen to me. If that knuckle duster remains at large, I will be feeling no pain. Now, I know that from my flamboyant manner, you'd never guess it. But that is only the actress in me. In actuality, that flea intends to do me in.
Oh, now, come, Rosemary.
What? You disagree?
Well, now, really, Rosemary.
Why, you big pain in the neck.
Rosemary.
Drinking my... Pour that back in the bottle. Go on, put it back in the bottle.
Well, I'll be going now. Only trying to be neighborly. Well, back to Bumpus Hell. Rance Blaggett, the smoking Colt still gripped in his hairy fists, suddenly pitched forward like a fallen Joshua tree at Red Gillis's feet. Red leaned over with a thin smile playing at the corners of his mouth, not liking what he saw, and lifted the badge off of Blaggett's cowhide vest and pinned it on his own. Bumpus Hell had a new sheriff. Hey. Then I heard it. It sounded like a man sneaking up a fire escape. I went over to the window, raised it, and looked up. I didn't like what I saw. An overcoated figure reached the third-floor landing and stood silhouetted against the lighted window of Rosemary's apartment. He was about the height and weight of that rat, Joe Donegan. By the time I'd rolled out the window onto the fire escape, his right hand had come out of his coat pocket. Donegan! Donegan, watch it! He was a floor ahead of me, and I didn't want to get too close to him until I'd passed that lighted window. He made the roof just as I crossed in front of it. The flashes from his revolver told me that. They also told me he had 2 slugs left to throw at me. The only light up there was a feeble glow from the skylight dead center. I headed for the cover of a brick chimney just to the left of it. I had 2 things in mind. The skylight was his most logical avenue of escape, and I hoped I could tease him into emptying his gun at me. It didn't work. I stuck my head out. No shots. But he did use his gun. I should have stood in Bumpus Hell.
The United States Armed Forces Radio Service is presenting the weekly adventure of Dashiell Hammett's famous private detective, Sam Spade.
What did that rat do to you, the dog? Sam, speak to me. Here, come on now.
Send an Indian to Sutter's Mill. Tell the governor the sheriff of Bumpus Hell is turning in his bag.
Listen, honey, you've got to pull yourself together. Now, come on. These delirious Trumans will get us no place now. Come on, Sam.
Yeah, yes, you're right.
Come on, now. Now, do not rush things, honey. That was quite a clip he gave you.
Yeah, where were you?
I was combing my hair out of the window.
Yeah, and he was on the fire escape, not 4 feet away. Not a very good shot, is he?
No, he isn't. Oh, Sam, look at your poor little head. Here, now, let me kiss it and make it well. Wild root.
Yeah, see how it gets me ahead socially and on the job?
Well, now, what next, Sam?
Rosemary, I am going to the top now. My dander is up. Let's have a moment of silence while I put through a call to Lieutenant Thomas Dundee of Homicide. It took your boys less than an hour to locate Joe Donegan and haul him in, Lieutenant. Rosemary's charges were not enough to hold him on attempted murder, and all I could identify was the back of his neck. But you were good enough to bag him anyway, so Rosemary and I could relax. I went downstairs to bed and started Chapter 4. Aha. Red Gillis didn't trust Curly Mallard, the foreman of the Crooked S. Aha. Unique Garage, Harry speaking.
Sam, this is Dundee.
Yeah, Dundee. What time is it?
8:30.
In the morning?
Yeah. Huh? Oh, yeah, it's daylight. Say, about that, what was his name?
Donegan?
Anyway, that fellow we booked last night on your say-so.
Well, what about him?
That was a bad beef, Sam. How come?
You better tell me.
Man was alibied, Sam.
When did that happen?
Well, a fellow named, got it written down here, Hobson. Warner Hobson says Donegan was with him at the time.
Who else says so?
Hobson's word's good enough for the commissioner. Ran for assembly once.
Did you know he also ran for Donegan's wife?
You don't say. Well, that's a real puzzler, Sam.
The human mind is unpredictable, Dundee.
Huh? Oh, yeah. Well, I hope you figure it out, Sam.
While I was shaving, I thought and thought. I wondered what Red Gillis would have done if such a situation had cropped up in Bumpus Hell. A thin smile began to play around the corners of my mouth as I climbed the stairs to Rosemary's apartment. When I got there, I didn't like what I saw. It was a note pinned to the door. It said, "Dear Sam, I have been called to do another audition. If anything crops up, you can reach me at Greystone 34292.
The Belita Wilkerson Talent Agency?
I want to speak to Rosemary Fell. Hello?
Yes, I'm still on the line. Who's calling, please?
Sam Spade.
I'm sorry, Mr. Spade. Miss Fell can't come to the phone.
Who's in charge there?
This is Miss Wilkerson speaking.
Yeah, well, why can't she come to the phone?
She's in the middle of her audition.
Well,
Is there any message?
yeah. Tell her Donegan's out and it's Hobson's choice.
Yes?
Mr. Hobson?
Yes?
My name is Spade.
Oh, yes, Mr. Spade. Come in.
Why did you phony up that alibi for Rosemary's husband, Mr. Hobson?
Huh? Oh, because I knew he's not the man who fired those shots at her.
Were you there?
As a matter of fact, I was. Would you like to hear about it?
I would.
Well, first, I'd better tell you a little about myself. Now, for the past year, I've been interested in politics. If I do say so myself.
Yes, I know. You ran for assembly. Come to the point.
Well, in a way, this is the point. My wife's a professional woman, and her own career keeps her busy a good deal of the time. Well, like the movie magazines say, a clash of careers and so on. That's how I happened to take up with Rosemary. I didn't know she was married, and of course, when I found out, I dropped her like a hot potato.
Potato.
And then she started blackmailing me. Did you know about that?
I still don't.
Well, I think I can convince you.
Go ahead.
Well, I received a series of threatening phone calls from Rosemary. And I finally decided to go to Donegan and tell him the whole story. Oh, he was as mad as a wet hen.
Wet hen?
Well, he said he'd stop her. And I believed he was the right man to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, last night he phoned me. He said he'd had a little caucus meeting with her and assured me I'd had no more trouble. But no sooner had I hung up that phone when she called again, making another outrageous demand. I decided then and there to take things into my own hands. So happens I'm a crack shot. And I knew that I could come close enough to frighten her without actually hurting her.
You were laboring under a false impression.
Huh? Oh, yes. Well, you believe me now?
Up to a point.
Well, I'm afraid that's all I have for you, Mr. Spade.
Well, I have something for you.
What's that?
Look up here. You see this bruise on my head?
Oh. Well, all in the game, you know.
Touché.
Now, hold it. I only...
Lie still. I'll get it. Yeah?
This is Rosemary again.
Listen,
now,
I want to talk...
Listen to me, you cheap ward healer. If you don't have that dough for me tonight, I will have no other recourse but to smear your fat puss all over the front pages.
Yeah, look, Rosemary...
And I am just the individual to do that. You may think you are a wolf in sheep's clothing, but in my opinion, you are nothing but a worm.
Yeah, well, look...
Goodbye, you rat. And rat.
Hey, Rosemary. Hello. Nuts.
Oh, wait a minute, Spade. Well, what did she say?
You're going to read it in my report, along with a bill for my services.
No, I'm so sorry she isn't in. You do that, sugar. Hello there.
Likewise.
Are you talent or just interested?
I could be. In the meantime, is Rosemary Fell still here?
Did she have an appointment today?
Yes, honey. I called this morning. She was here then.
You must be mistaken, darling. The office didn't open till noon today.
Yeah. Could I talk to Miss Wilkerson?
She isn't here just now.
Oh,
She never gets in till 1.
Not until when?
She's over at KQW cutting a transcription for our new show, Goal of the Golden Gate. Oh, no. I mean, Gale of the Golden Goat.
Don't you mean Gale of the Golden Gate?
That's it. Girl of the Golden Gate.
You said it, and I'm glad.
Well, anyway, she isn't here.
Oh.
Good morning, Maggie. Any calls for me?
Oh, yes, Miss Wilkerson, your husband. Oh, Miss Wilkerson, I was telling the gentleman you weren't here.
Obviously, I am. Did you have an appointment?
I talked to you on the phone this morning. Spade.
Oh, Rosemary's friend.
Well, you might know.
She'll be out in a moment. What a distressing business that was last night. Rosemary tells me you saved her life.
Well, that's a slight exaggeration. In fact, the whole thing was a mistake.
Oh, really? I understood that. Oh, here she is. Rosemary, here's your friend.
Sam, I ever glad to see you.
Yeah.
What's the matter?
Plenty.
Oh. Well, thanks loads, Miss Wilkerson. I hope the recording is better on this one.
I'm sure it is, Rosemary. We'll call you when the client makes up his mind.
Oh, well, thanks again. Come on, Sam.
Goodbye, Mr. Spade.
Goodbye.
Sam, what is this new development that appears to be griping you?
Why didn't you tell me you were shaking Hobson down?
Uh-huh. And who's been feeding you this pile of gross falsehood?
Look, Rosemary, you may be an actress, but with me, your audition is over, and you did not get the part.
And just what are your future intentions in regards to me?
None whatsoever. I'm sorry I ever met you, and I'm going back to Bumpus Hell. I went back to the office, swiveled my chair into a comfortable position, opened the February number of Sheriff and Outlaw to page 112, Betrayal in Bumpus Hell, Chapter 5, Stampede. It was disappointing. There was a lot of stuff about bawling cattle and dust clouds and Flo and Curly standing on top of a butte, not liking what they saw, when somebody yelled, Stampede. Red Gillis was riding ahead of the cattle, and his horse stepped into a chuck hole, and he'd sprained his ankle. Red of the horse, it didn't say which. But Red was lying prostrate in the path of the avalanche of tossing horns, not liking what he saw. Hold it a minute. Let's see. Continued on page 113. Learn to be a private... hello.
Spade, this is Hobson. Come out here right away. Something terrible has happened.
Such as?
Rosemary is here, and I think she's dead. In here, Spade. Oh, I don't know how she got in. Oh, yes, I do remember I must have left the door unlocked.
Where were you?
Why, I just stepped out to get some cigarettes.
Did you prove it?
Why, no, I'm afraid not. I got halfway and found I didn't have any money and came back.
You came back, walked through this room, went in the bedroom, and didn't see the body until you started back?
Well, yes, the lights were off. I stumbled over it.
This is the gun?
Yes. She did it with my own gun. Oh, I never dreamed her love for me would drive her to self-destruction. Of course, now it's clear what really lay behind her poor, clumsy effort to blackmail me. It was a desperate move to get me back. Oh, I'll never forgive myself for driving that poor girl to this.
Don't worry about that, Hobson. This isn't suicide.
Murder? Oh, great heavens. What will Belita say?
Belita?
Yes, my wife.
Belita Wilkerson?
Professional name, you know. I was explaining to you before that... Oh, that's my wife now. What in the world will I tell her?
Never mind, I'll get it. Hello?
This is Rosemary for the last time. And I'm just calling to tell you that you have stalled around too long. I have talked to your wife and told her the whole sordid pitch. Why she wants you back, I will never know. But I sold you cheap, and you weren't worth a cent more. I am a girl who does not like to do things halfway, but you were just too late. Goodbye, you fathead.
Yeah, Rosemary, I guess we were all too late. I called you, Dundee, and then, like the rat I am, made off with your prize suspect before you and your boys from Homicide arrived. We arrived at the Belita Wilkerson Talent Agency just as the boss was shutting up shop for the day. She had the recordings under her arm. All right, Belita, I'll take those.
Well, what are you... Warner, Mr. Spade.
Unlock the door, Belita. We're going back in.
Warner, why are you...
You'd better do as he says, Belita.
Well, all right, but...
Give me those keys. Inside, both of you. Where do you play these records?
The recording studio is just through there, but you can spare yourself the trouble. I admit I tricked Rosemary into recording those blackmail speeches and then played them back over the phone to Warner. If trying to hold on to my husband is a crime, then I'm a criminal.
Oh, now, Belita, my dear.
Come on, stop that. We gotta get busy. I phoned the Hobson house, and you were still there, Dundee. You said it was an open and shut case against Hobson, and to deliver him at once or kiss my license goodbye. But when I told you my diabolically ingenious scheme You said yes, you'd be glad to, because it was a sure way of getting rid of me once and for all. It took us nearly 2 hours to get things ready in Belita's recording studio. We took the parts of Rosemary's so-called audition records that we thought would fit the occasion and dubbed them onto a single side. We played it back once, then I phoned you at headquarters.
Homicide. Lieutenant Dundee.
Spade, Dundee. Everything's ready here. Did you pick up Donegan?
Oh, yeah. He's here. Donegan?
Hold on. Okay, Belita. Start the record when I give you the nod.
Yes, Mr. Spade.
I didn't say it, Donegan. That's for you.
Right. Yeah, who's this?
This is Rosemary.
Huh?
I forgive you for everything, but there are some things I cannot forget. You
Rosemary,
lied.
it sounds like
We have
you.
meant a lot to each other, but after what you have done to me, it is time you paid through the nose.
Rosemary, I didn't mean it. When I followed you to his house and you went right in like you lived there, I
What
just
you
went
have done
nuts.
to me, it is time you paid through the nose, you
Listen.
rat. I am a girl who does
Listen,
not
Rose-
like to do things halfway.
Listen, honey,
But
you're not
were
going to
just
throw
too
the book
late.
at me, are you?
And I am
I'm
just
glad
the
to hear your
individual,
voice. I
too.
thought you were
We
dead.
have meant a lot to
Okay,
each
kill
other.
it.
Rosemary, are you listening? Rosemary. Hey, no, she's still on the line. I want to talk to her.
Take him, Polehouse.
Wait a minute.
Take him. Sam,
Yeah, Dundee.
congratulations. That was a brilliant piece of work. Hey, Sam, you still on the line?
Yeah, I'll be all right, Dundee. I just fainted temporarily. Say it again, will you, pal?
Yeah, as I was saying, congratulations on a brilliant piece of work.
Well,
But I have never in all my years on the force heard of such a wild, insane, illegal, unethical, and downright cruel method of extorting a completion.
thank you, Dundee. I feel better already. Period. End of report.
But Sam, what happened?
Effie, I thought I had made that abundantly clear.
No.
In order to discredit her husband's paramour, Belita gave her a come-on about an audition and had her play the part of a blackmailer reading lines from a script which she, Belita, had prepared, and thereupon proceeded to play said records over the telephone, well knowing that her husband would erroneously believe Rosemary to be a blackmailer in fact, and would drop her like a hot spud.
No, Sam, no, I don't mean
Don't
that.
interrupt.
Oh.
It was my inspiration, I, Sam Spade, to use Belita's fiendish device for a higher purpose.
No, Sam, no,
Yes.
that is what I'm... No, Sam, I meant the Western story. Betrayal in Bumpus Creek.
It is not Crick, Effie.
You can't say H over the radio, Sam.
Oh, yes, you can. Bumpus Hell is the post office designation of a hamlet right here in California.
It is?
Mm-hmm.
Well, anyway, what happened? Did Red Gillis ever find his brother?
I didn't quite finish, Ev. Go type that up, and I shall.
Well, here it is, Sam. Oh, Sam, what's the matter? You don't look at all well.
Can't be. It didn't happen. It's a misprint. That's what it is.
What, Sam? What?
Maybe the writer was tired.
Oh, Sam, it's only a story.
That's what you think.
Well, did Red Gillis find his brother?
I won't tell.
Oh, no, Sam, now don't be childish.
Oh, well, all right. Remember the sheriff he shot on page 1?
What?
Yeah, it turned out to be the new schoolmarm.
Oh, how ornery. A woman, huh? Nice, Sam.
Get off. Good night, sweetheart.
This is the United States Armed Forces Radio Service, the voice of information and education.